My girlfriend cheated with her boss, so I exposed the affair video. Jiang Huai's girlfriend cheated on him with his boss, who shamelessly showed off the video in front of him. In the end, he was fired from the company and became depressed. After Jiang Huai was reborn, he found himself reborn on the day of his boss' wedding. He vowed to bring disgrace to the couple. So on the wedding day, he played the groom's cheating video on the big screen in front of his boss and all the relatives and friends of the bride. Chapter 1, Boss Gets Married, I Give Him a Big Gift. Now, let's welcome the bride and groom to the stage to deliver their thank you speech to all the friends and family. As the music began to play softly, the newlyweds walked up from both sides of the stage. When Jiang Huai arrived at the Jiang Huai Grand Hotel, the wedding had already started. The groom, standing on the stage with an air of solemnity, was the manager of their company, Sun Jiang. Seeing this man, Jiang Huai gritted his teeth and clenched his fists. Jiang Huai had just been reincarnated a few hours ago. In his past life, his girlfriend, Shenjia, had cheated on him. And Shenjia's affair was with the man standing on the stage, his superior, Sun Jiang. Jiang Huai and Shenjia had been college classmates, and after graduation, they both worked at the same company. It was during this time that Shenjia and their department manager, Sun Jiang, also the man getting married now, got involved. With just a few words, Sun Jiang, who had some money, managed to trick Shenjia into becoming his mistress. In his previous life, Jiang Huai never knew about the affair until they broke up. It was only then that he discovered they had been together for a long time. The breakup was messy, and Sun Jiang, in front of Jiang Huai, proudly pulled out his phone and played videos of his and Shenjia's intimate moments, bed scenes, deliberately showing them to Jiang Huai. Jiang Huai could still vividly recall how Sun Jiang looked at him with disdain, taunting him. Jiang Huai, look at your girlfriend in bed, she's quite the pro, knows all the positions, and damn, she's got a good taste. Oh, darling, you promised not to show this to anyone. Jiang Huai, enraged, had spit blood in that moment and fainted. Afterward, Jiang Huai resigned. His heart and mind shattered, he spiraled into despair, drowning his sorrows in alcohol. 5 years later, as he stumbled along the road, still drunk, he was struck by a truck, ending his life. Meanwhile, Shenjia and Sun Jiang became even more shameless. After Jiang Huai left the company, the two were promoted and raised in status, with Sun Jiang divorcing his wife, and they became an inseparable couple, living happily ever after. When Jiang Huai opened his eyes again, he found himself back at the age of 22, on the day Sun Jiang was getting married. Sun Jiang's bride was the daughter of the company's vice president, and at that time, Sun Jiang, a young, successful man, had deliberately staged a few encounters, successfully winning the heart of the rich and beautiful woman. Finally, today, they were getting married. Sun Jiang, I will make you pay dearly. Jiang Huai silently swore. He knew Sun Jiang had a peculiar habit. Every time he engaged in physical activity, he would record videos. These videos were stored on Sun Jiang's computer at the company. So, on the morning of the wedding, while everyone was at the hotel, Jiang Huai made a trip back to the company and copied all of those videos from Sun Jiang's computer. Jiang Huai had studied IT and finance in college, and in his spare time, he also learned some hacking skills. With his current abilities, hacking into the hotel's system was no problem. In just a few minutes, under the witness of relatives and company colleagues, Jiang Huai would expose Sun Jiang for everyone to see his true colors. He walked into their hall and deliberately chose a corner to sit, preparing to enjoy the show. He scanned the hall. On the flower-covered stage, 2 rows of beautiful bridesmaids stood neatly in line. Shenjia was among them, standing not far from Sun Jiang. When no one was looking, they exchanged flirtatious glances. But the bride and others on the opposite side of the stage seemed oblivious to this. Jiang Huai sneered. These two had managed to deceive him so easily. Sun Jiang took the microphone from their host, looking at the bride with deep affection and said, "Darling, meeting you in this life is the happiest thing for me. From now on, I will always be good to you, take care of you, and love you. Whether we are rich or poor, in sickness or health, I am willing to go through it all with you. Will you allow me to protect you?" Hearing Sun Jiang's heartfelt confession, the bride on the opposite side teared up with emotion. "I do." With the bride's affirmation, the atmosphere in the hall reached its peak. The audience applauded and cheered. "They are such a perfect couple, truly made for each other. I heard they are in a free love relationship." Sun Jiang is such a lucky guy to marry a rich and beautiful woman. I also want to find a rich and beautiful woman. After this, I'll ask around if the bride has any more rich friends. Everyone was joking and admiring Sun Jiang's fortune. Standing on the stage, Sun Jiang looked pleased, gazing at the friends and family below. Today was the day he would cross class lines. For this moment, he had prepared for a long time. From now on, with the title of the chairman's son-in-law, his career at the company would skyrocket, and his future looked bright. Now, let us take a look at their love story and see how hard these two have worked to be where they are today. Please direct your attention to the big screen. At this moment, the hostess' enthusiastic voice drew everyone's attention to the big screen. Everyone turned to look at the screen, eager to see how Sun Jiang had managed to win over a rich and beautiful woman. The lights in the hall dimmed, and music played softly like flowing water. The host followed everyone's gaze toward the screen, ready to announce the prepared words. At the same time, Jiang Huai pressed a button on his phone. The screen flickered. Suddenly, a video of an intimate scene appeared on the big screen, accompanied by the sounds of moaning and grunting. In the video, the two were naked, engaging in various positions, performing activities that could not be described. The entire hall went silent for a moment, before erupting in shock. What's going on? Why is the hotel playing such disgusting videos? Quick! Turn it off. It's a joyous occasion, why are they playing this kind of video? Is Jiang Huai Grand Hotel ruining its reputation? You're showing this at our wedding. I'll file a complaint. Both the bride and groom's relatives angrily denounced the situation. In the chaos, the host quickly reacted. Please calm down, everyone. This is not our hotel's fault. Please remain quiet. I'll get someone to handle this and turn off their video immediately. With that, the host hurried off to find the hotel manager. In the hall, screams, shouts, and some people laughing in the chaos mixed together. Then, someone shouted. Look! The man on the screen looks like Sun Jiang. What? This shout immediately drew everyone's attention. The hall was filled with relatives from both the bride's and groom's sides, some with children. They had been too embarrassed to look at the disgusting scenes on the screen earlier. But now, hearing that it was Sun Jiang, everyone looked up. Sun Jiang, who had been angrily fuming about how his wedding had turned into such a disaster, suddenly felt something was off. He turned in shock, and when he saw the content on the screen, his face turned as white as a sheet. Chapter 2, Scumbag and Bitch, Fired. At this time, high-definition and uncensored images were playing on the big screen. Shinjiao was seen crawling on the ground, saying coquettishly, "You are going to marry another woman tomorrow, but you said you love me the most. Don't worry, I have always loved you the most. I only love the money of that woman." Sun Jiang stood behind Shinjiao. "As long as I can get her, I will be able to walk sideways in the company in the future, and I will have more money to buy you bags and jewelry." Seeing these contents, Sun Jiang felt like he was about to faint. Who is messing with him? How could these things be here? Aren't these short videos stored in his computer? He even specially added a password and put it in a very secret file. How did it get here? But now is not the time for Sun Jiang to think about these questions. At this time, a waiter in the hotel finally reacted and ran to the corner to unplug the power supply. The intense film finally stopped, and Sun Jiang breathed a sigh of relief. But when he looked up, he saw today's bride, his future wife Zhao Nana, standing in front of him, furious. Par. A crisp sound rang out, and Sun Jiang was slapped hard on the face. Zhao Nana bit her lip, her face full of anger. "Sun Jiang, I didn't expect that the confessions you told me were all false. You have been lying to me. You married me for my money, you scumbag." Zhao Nana is the daughter of Jiang Huai, the vice president of their company. Because Sun Jiang is young and promising, and he keeps pursuing Zhao Nana, he finally captured Zhao Nana's heart and agreed to his proposal. Zhao Nana was so angry that she was shaking all over. She couldn't accept the fact at all, and tears flowed down uncontrollably. At this time, a man in his 50s walked out from behind Zhao Nana and shouted angrily at Sun Jiang. "Sun Jiang, you beast, you have betrayed Nana before we even got married. I now announce that you are fired. I will ask my lawyer to send you a lawyer's letter to compensate the company for the losses it has suffered, and I will also issue a notice to my peers not to allow others to hire you, a beast." This man is Zhao Nana's father, the vice president of their company, Jiang Huai. Dad, it's not like that, please listen to my explanation. Hearing Jiang Huai's words, Sun Jigang knelt down in horror and begged in front of Jiang Huai. For this job, Sun Jigang had spent a lot of effort before, and worked overtime day and night to get the opportunity to be promoted, but now, there is nothing. Get out of here, don't call me dad, I'm not your dad, you make me feel sick, get out of here. Jiang Huai kicked Sun Jigang away. Let's go, Nana, let's go back. Jiao Nana shed tears and looked at Sun Jigang unwillingly. Tell me, who is that woman? The content of the movie just now was too eye-catching. Jiao Nana didn't see clearly who the woman was. Some colleagues in the company had already recognized her. She is Shinjia from the company. Hey, isn't Shinjia a bridesmaid? She was here just now, where did she go? At the same time, several sharp-eyed people saw a person wearing a bridesmaid dress running backstage quickly. It turned out that when Shinjia saw the movie, she felt that something was wrong, and her subconscious thought was to run. Catch her. With a roar, several angry relatives blocked Shinjia, who was about to leave. In an instant, Sun Jigang and Shinjia became the targets of venting for the relatives of both sides. Everyone threw saliva, leftovers, and garbage at the two. You bitch, you actually seduced my son. My son's good marriage was ruined by you, you bitch. Sun Jigang's mother was furious and tore Shinjia's clothes. A large piece of Shinjia's clothes was torn off, and half of her body was exposed. Shinjia cried and covered the important parts of her body with both hands. Why are you hiding? Weren't you so bitch just now? Do you still know shame? There were some men in the crowd who looked at Shinjia's exposed skin and took advantage of the chaos to reach out their dirty hands. Especially after they watched the short movie just now, their eyes changed when they looked at Shinjia. Some people took out their mobile phones and took videos of this scene, live broadcasting it to moments and short videos. Why are you pretending to be innocent? Look at the video, you're having fun. Bastard, bitch, oh. Sun Jigang is so affectionate to Jiao Nana, but it's all fake, all for money. Expose them. Jiang Huai watched this scene quietly. It was so cool, he had never felt so cool before. In his previous life, he was aggrieved for several years, and died unwillingly until he died. Now, he exposed the affair between the two people in front of everyone. Sun Jigang's future was ruined, and Shinjia ended up like a rat crossing the street, everyone shouting and beating her. Jiang Huai breathed a sigh of relief, stood up and prepared to go out through the side door. But when he just walked to the door, Shinjia, who was surrounded by the crowd, suddenly saw him. At this time, a group of men surrounded Shinjia, not letting her leave, laughing, beating and scolding, and constantly molesting her. Jiang Huai, save me. Shinjia saw Jiang Huai, as if she saw a life-saving straw. People around stopped and looked at Jiang Huai with interest. Everyone knew that Jiang Huai was Shinjia's boyfriend, and Jiang Huai treated Shinjia very well. Jiang Huai gave all his monthly salary to Shinjia, and he was reluctant to spend it. But now, Shinjia cheated, and performed such a big drama in front of everyone. Jiang Huai's head is already a green grassland. At this moment, what will Jiang Huai choose? Jiang Huai, believe me, I didn't do it voluntarily, Sun Jigang forced me to do it. Seeing Jiang Huai stopped, Shinjia quickly crawled to Jiang Huai's side and begged, you know, I have always loved you, believe me, although I gave my body to him, the purest place in my heart is still yours. Jiang Huai, take me away, I will follow you obediently in the future. The people around were speechless by Shinjia's words. This is a perennial green tea. What kind of people would say such words? The people around looked at Jiang Huai without saying anything, and showed contemptuous expressions. Sure enough, a liquor is a liquor. Shinjia has been like this, is he still going to forgive her? Fuck, is this the legendary 10,000 years of giant licking? Amid the disdainful gazes of the crowd, Jiang Huai lowered his head slightly and said in Shinjia's ear. Do you know who played this little movie today? It was me. After Jiang Huai finished speaking, he looked at Shinjia with a playful look, her eyes widened in disbelief, and emotions of surprise and anger climbed onto her face. Chapter 3 You steal my girlfriend, I fuck your wife. That expression seemed to be saying, how do you know, when did you know? Then, with a crisp slap, Shinjia was slapped to the ground. Get lost. Jiang Huai said in a deep voice. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? So easy to fool. Open your eyes and see if there's a word of injustice written on my face. After that, Jiang Huai walked out without looking back. Jiang Huai, you're a beast, you're hurting me. Shinjo only reacted at this time and cursed at Jiang Huai. Seeing this scene, the people around him finally felt balanced. Jiang Huai was going to take the elevator from their hotel to the parking lot on the first floor below ground. Such a thing suddenly happened at Jiang Huai Hotel. The entrance of the hotel was already full of people, and some people even called the police. Jiang Huai didn't want to get involved with others, so he was going to leave the parking lot directly. Coming out of the elevator in the parking lot, Jiang Huai identified the direction and walked towards the garage door on foot. Just as he was walking forward, he suddenly heard a strange sound coming from between two cars. The parking lot was dimly lit. Jiang Huai was a little confused, and slowly walked around from the other side, and then saw a woman with a good figure sitting on the ground. After careful identification, Jiang Huai recognized that this was the bride of today's wedding, Zhao Nana. At this time, Zhao Nana had changed into a red silk dress, her bridal makeup was removed, and her long wavy hair was draped over her shoulders. She sat on the ground without any scruples, leaning against a black Mercedes-Benz SUV, with her eyes closed. Why is she here alone? Jiang Huai recalled that after the incident just now, Zhao Nana's father took her away, and she did not participate in the subsequent events. Looking back, the one who was most hurt by what happened today was Zhao Nana, who was unaware of it. Originally, she thought she had found such a perfect groom, but suddenly such a thing happened, which made a spoiled girl unable to accept it for a while. Jiang Huai thought that he was the mastermind of this matter, and felt a little guilty. He walked up and asked, "Miss Zhao, why are you here alone?" Zhao Nana opened her confused eyes, glanced at Jiang Huai, and said nothing. "It's dark in this parking lot, it's very dangerous, where are your family members?" Jiang Huai said, lowering his head to pull Zhao Nana up. Zhao Nana stood up with Jiang Huai's guidance. "It's cold at night, go back quickly." Zhao Nana leaned on the car behind her, narrowed her eyes slightly and examined Jiang Huai. "I've seen you, you are from the company." Jiang Huai nodded. Zhao Nana is the boss's daughter and often comes to the company. Because she is beautiful and has a good family background, she has always been the dream lover of single men in the company. When Jiang Huai first met Zhao Nana, he was also amazed by her appearance. At the same time, he was secretly fantasizing that it would be great if he had such a white, rich and beautiful girlfriend. But at that time, Zhao Nana was already Sun Zhigang's girlfriend, and Jiang Huai was also dating Shinjia, so imagination is imagination, and the two had no intersection in real life. "I've been drinking and can't drive. Can you take me home?" Zhao Nana looked Jiang Huai up and down and said. At this time, Jiang Huai found several bottles of wine on the ground and smelled a smell of wine. It turned out that Zhao Nana was drinking here alone. Jiang Huai felt even more guilty and nodded. "Okay, where is your car?" Zhao Nana patted the big G behind her and gently stretched out her hand to open the door. Jiang Huai walked around to the driver's seat and sat on it, but as soon as he closed the door, Zhao Nana's whole body leaned softly on him. Jiang Huai was stunned. Zhao Nana put her arms around Jiang Huai's neck, opened her drunken eyes, and looked at Jiang Huai. "Do you like me?" "I." Jiang Huai's head was hot. "What is this? I'm so beautiful and rich, many of them like me, do you like me?" Zhao Nana asked again. "Fuck, what's going on?" Jiang Huai's CPU was running fast, and finally nodded blankly. "I like her, why not? This kind of white, rich and beautiful woman is the goddess in every man's heart." Zhao Nana's face was only a few centimeters away from Jiang Huai at this time. Her breath hit Jiang Huai's face, hot, with a faint smell of alcohol, mixed with Zhao Nana's perfume. Before Jiang Huai could react, Zhao Nana's little mouth came up directly. Jiang Huai was confused. He had seen Zhao Nana in the company before. She seemed to have a very cold personality on the surface. Didn't expect her to be so open. "Miss Zhao, you are drunk," Jiang Huai advised, then put his arm around Zhao Nana's waist, bringing the two closer. "I'm not drunk, I'm sober." Zhao Nana's tone was full of stubbornness. Jiang Huai's words were like a fuse, igniting Zhao Nana's emotions, and the words that had been suppressed in her heart burst out. She continued to accuse, "I have been a good girl in my family since I was a child. I listened to my parents, study hard, and have never had a boyfriend. After meeting Sun Zhigang, I thought I met my Prince Charming and wanted to give him my best and most precious things on my wedding day. But why? Why is he a scumbag? I am so good, why doesn't he cherish me? It turns out that he is all for my family's money. This beast. As Zhao Nana spoke, tears slowly flowed into Jiang Huai's mouth. Sweet, salty, very soft, and a hint of alcohol. Jiang Huai responded to Zhao Nana, and Zhao Nana kept accusing. What's the point of being a good girl? What's the point of being obedient? Still not cherished? No one loves you. Why? Then, Zhao Nana seemed to have made up her mind. It was unknown whether she was drunk or too sad. She gritted her teeth and said, I want to take revenge on him, I want to take revenge on everyone. From now on, I will not be good, and I will never be obedient again. I will give you everything I have now, to a stranger. Since others don't cherish it, then destroy it all. Then, she pulled down the suspenders of her silk dress herself. Jiang Huai originally wanted to comfort Zhao Nana, but he didn't expect that the price of comforting Zhao Nana would be like this. Finally, Jiang Huai gritted his teeth. Okay, since this can make you feel better, then I will try my best to make up for it. It was caused by me. You were accidentally injured. I am really sorry. Now I can only try my best to satisfy you. Jiang Huai thought with guilt in his heart. Sensing the big hand reaching into her chest, Zhao Nana still resisted instinctively. Wait a minute, it's cold. It's not cold, I turned on the air conditioner. You press my hair. Oh. An hour passed quickly, and at this moment, a footstep suddenly came from the quiet parking lot. The footstep went directly to the side of the Mercedes-Benz G and stopped. Dong dong. Then, the car door was knocked twice from outside. The battle in the car was in full swing. Wait, there's someone outside. Zhao Nana's legs suddenly wrapped around Jiang Huai's waist, and she said in panic. Jiang Huai was forced to stop. Nana. At this moment, a man's voice suddenly came from outside the car. Both of them were familiar with this voice. It was Sun Jiang. Chapter for live broadcast. Nana, I know you are in there, please open the door, I want to talk to you, okay. Sun Jiang stood outside the car. The Mercedes-Benz was covered with an anti-peep film, so it was impossible to see what was going on inside from the outside. Sun Jiang is here. Zhao Nana was panicked. She had never experienced such a thing before and was at a loss for what to do for a moment. Don't panic. Jiang Huai held Zhao Nana's hands, but did not stop. Don't you want to take ruthless revenge on Sun Jiang? Then what would be considered ruthless revenge? Zhao Nana was stunned for a moment, then understood instantly. You are so bad. She punched Jiang Huai coquettishly. Outside the car, Sun Jiang was still standing there. His friends and relatives in the hotel had dispersed. He was pointed at and scolded by everyone for a long time before he finally escaped to the parking lot. What happened today directly destroyed everything Sun Jiang had. He was originally the most promising newcomer in the company. In order to hook up with the beautiful, rich and white Zhao Nana, he sacrificed a lot. After finally winning Zhao Nana's favor, the two got married. He believed that with his continued efforts, he might be able to make a comeback and become a senior executive of the company, with a bright future ahead of him. But all of this was destroyed and turned to ashes in the instant just now. Sun Jiang gritted his teeth and said that if he could find out which bastard did it, he would never let him go. But now that it has happened, now is not the time to think about the murderer. After thinking alone for a long time, Sun Jiang felt unwilling to give up. He didn't want to lose everything he had worked so hard to get. At this moment, he suddenly thought of Zhao Nana. After being together for so long, Sun Jiang knew Zhao Nana's character very well. Zhao Nana was easy to coax and deceive, so he planned to appeal to her emotions and let Zhao Nana continue to accept him. After making up his mind, Sun Jiang saw Zhao Nana's car still parked in the parking lot, and he heard someone's voice inside. Sun Jiang was pleasantly surprised and walked over quickly. The Mercedes was very quiet, and there was no light coming from inside. It is possible that Zhao Nana was too sad about what happened just now and was crying alone in the car. Sun Jiang thought to himself. Then he stood there quietly, with an extremely sincere expression, and said with great sorrow. Nana, I know you are in there. Can you open the door and let's talk? I was wrong. It was that woman who seduced me. Please listen to my explanation. Can you give me another chance? The door of the Mercedes-Benz was still closed. Sun Jiang stared at the door quietly. He was very familiar with Zhao Nan'er's character. He believed that as long as he sincerely admitted his mistake, Zhao Nan'er would soften her heart. Nana, if you don't open the door, I will wait for you here forever, even until the end of time. Sun Jigang spoke sincerely, guessing in his heart, standing quietly, but he suddenly felt something was wrong. Because he saw the Mercedes-Benz shaking slowly and rhythmically. This is like. Sun Jigang opened his eyes wide in disbelief. Nana. At this time, Zhao Nan'er's voice came from the car, trying her best to endure. Get lost, Artilder. With Zhao Nan'er's shout, everything returned to calm. Sun Jigang didn't dare to believe his own guess, and could only keep banging on the car door and shouting wildly. Nana, what are you doing in there? Open the door. Bang, bang, bang. As Sun Jigang continued to hammer, the window of the Mercedes-Benz finally rolled down slowly, leaving a gap the size of a palm. Nana. Sun Jigang was delighted and hurried over, but when he saw the person in the car window, his body froze in place for an instant. Jiang Huai. In an instant, Sun Jigang understood everything. Everything that he was unwilling to believe just now was actually true. Then Sun Jigang's mentality exploded. What are you doing? What are you doing? Jiang Huai wiped the sweat from his forehead. You've been standing here for half an hour, and you're still asking. Sun Jigang, I didn't expect you to have such a hobby. You not only like to take pictures of yourself, but also like to watch others. How is it? How does it feel to watch the live broadcast? Faced with Jiang Huai's provocation, Sun Jigang was already furious. Zhao Nan'er was originally his wife. When the two were dating, because Zhao Nan'er had very strict family education and he had always been very cautious in pursuing Zhao Nan'er, the two of them never crossed the line. It was because of this that Sun Ji couldn't help but go find Shen Jia just now. He originally thought that by getting married today, he would finally achieve his goal, but he didn't expect that everything would be ruined. And now, on his wedding day, Zhao Nan'er was actually with another man, right under his nose. No man can endure such humiliation. Jiang Huai, I'm going to kill you. Sun Jigang angrily wanted to reach out from the car window to grab Jiang Huai, but the window gap was too narrow and he couldn't reach Jiang Huai. Sun Jigang. At this time, a cold voice sounded from inside the car. Zhao Nan'er spoke, and she looked coldly at the furious Sun Jigang. Sun Jigang felt like he was struck by lightning, his body frozen in place. There was nothing inside Zhao Nan'er's red silk dress. Inside the car, stockings and bras were scattered all over the floor. Get lost, I feel sick just by looking at you now. After Zhao Nan'er said one sentence, she stopped talking. Jiang Huai put his face close to the window again and put on a sly smile. I've tried it for you, it tastes great. After saying that, Jiang Huai gave a thumbs up. I'm going to kill you. Veins bulged on Sun Jigang's forehead and he punched the car window. But the car window slowly closed, and then the Mercedes-Benz drove out of the parking lot with a boom. Half an hour later, the G-Class stopped at the gate of a high-end residential complex. Then Jiang Huai rolled down from the car. Hey, how can you not recognize me when you pull up your pants? Jiang Huai shouted in protest on the roadside. Roll. A proud and cold voice came from inside the car. Women are so heartless. Jiang Huai snorted. The noise here had attracted people to the gate of the villa, so he left quickly. Just now, the cold wind blowing through the car window had completely sobered Zhao Nan'er up. Maybe it was the effect of alcohol, or maybe she was too sad, but after she sobered up, the atmosphere in the car was extremely awkward, and Zhao Nan'er returned to her previous attitude of keeping strangers away. No matter what Jiang Huai said, she didn't answer. Finally arriving at the door of her home, she kicked Jiang Huai out of the car. Miss, you're back. The Zhao family's housekeeper hurried forward and opened the car door skillfully. The result surprised the butler so much that he opened his eyes wide. There was no one in the cab. The housekeeper glanced at Zhao Nan'er, who was sitting in the passenger seat, and then glanced at the empty driver's seat. The lady is sitting in the passenger seat, so who is driving here? I was drunk, so I called a designated driver. Zhao Nan'er suddenly felt guilty, so she lied and got out of the car with her bag. Take the car and wash it. Okay. The housekeeper quickly agreed and watched Zhao Nan'er walk in through the gate. He didn't know if it was because of his eyesight, but he seemed to see that the lady's legs were shaking today. Jiang Huai walked all the way home. Reborn 5 years ago, he had not had time to seriously think about his current situation. He has just graduated from college and has been working in his current company for 3 months. He has just finished his internship period and his parents are still alive. In his previous life, because of what happened between him and Shinjia, he was always depressed and lost motivation in life. The mother couldn't believe that the child she had raised with so much effort had turned out like this. One day, on her way to visit him, she had a car accident. After losing the mother, their whole family was broken up. The father also drank every day and played cards to get by. Jiang Huai suddenly felt sad. He picked up his phone and looked for the familiar number. Hello. On the other end of the phone, his mother He Wenjuan's voice rang out. Hearing this familiar voice again, Jiang Huai choked up instantly. Mom. Chapter 5, I have touched the most beautiful Zhao Nana. What's wrong? He Wenjuan heard something wrong in her son's voice and became nervous. Nothing, I missed you. Jiang Huai sniffed. Little bastard. He Wenjuan laughed over there. The Chinese New Year is only 2 months away. Bring Shinjia back for the New Year. I've prepared a lot of New Year's goods for you. They are all your favorite foods. Shinjia likes the braised fish I make the most. Mom. Jiang Huai interrupted He Wenjuan and said, I broke up with Shinjia. He Wenjuan paused. No wonder she felt that her son's tone was not right. It turned out to be this. Jiang Huai and Shinjia dated for a year in college and brought each other home several times during that time. There was silence on the other end of the phone for a few seconds, and He Wenjuan comforted him. It's okay, son. Just break up if you want to. You're still young, and you can find someone better. Don't be too sad. Just do what you have to do. There are many women in the world, and there are many who are better than her. You don't have to hang yourself on a tree. Yeah. Jiang Huai nodded heavily. I won't be in a relationship anymore. I'm going to do something big here, then buy a big house and bring you guys over to live with me. He Wenjuan was amused by Jiang Huai. I believe you, son. Is my dad here? Yes, I'm here, listening. Then, Jiang Huai heard He Wenjuan talking to her father Jiang Jinzhong. Take it, my son is looking for you. Just tell me what you want, why are you looking for me? Oh, what a person you are. You listen more seriously than anyone else when others call you, but you refuse to speak when I ask you to. Come on, take it. He Wenjuan scolded unhappily. Jiang Huai imagined the parents across the street arguing and pushing each other, and laughed. It's great that he's back. Jiang Huai rented a small house in Ning City. He originally wanted to live with Shinjia, but Shinjia had never lived here before. Now Jiang Huai realized that she was disgusted. After being reborn, Jiang Huai hasn't found a good place to go yet, so he decided to stay in his current company. Based on his memories from his previous life, Jiang Huai knew that the global economy would undergo earth-shaking changes in the next few years. In particular, the physical industry was declining, while online shopping was on the rise, and eventually became popular all over the world. Jiang Huai's current Tianxin company specializes in online shopping platforms, and online shopping is now beginning to emerge. Jiang Huai decided to seize the business opportunity and do a great job. The next morning, when Jiang Huai arrived at the company, it was exactly 9 o'clock. Hi, Xiao Jiang, here I come. Jiang Huai had just walked to the door of the company when a man in his 30s came towards him and greeted him with a smile. This man is a colleague in their department, named Wang Chuan. Wang Chuan usually doesn't talk to anyone because he has been in the company for a long time and has a lot of seniority. He usually looks condescending and doesn't look down on new interns like Jiang Huai. You don't know yet. When Jiang Huai was in a daze, a colleague named Cao Qingcheng came over and said, the incident at the hotel yesterday caused a lot of uproar, and the whole company knew about it. Shinjia was fired directly because she had not worked for a long time. Sun Zhigang was even worse off. He was a long-time employee and his case involved the company's secrets and interests. Not only was he fired, he also had to bear the losses the company suffered as a result. This result was within Jiang Huai's expectations. Cao Qingcheng added, after Sun Zhigang was fired, the position of our sales department for manager became vacant. Now everyone is saying that the director intends to promote Wang Chuan to be the manager of the 4th department. So that's how it is. No wonder you're so happy. Jiang Huai nodded. He had just finished his internship at the company. The company was very large, with dozens of people in their department alone. No matter what, the position of manager will never come to him, so he has some idea in his mind. Hey, Zhao Nana is here. At this time, Cao Qingcheng pushed Jiang Huai excitedly. Jiang Huai was stunned and looked in the direction Cao Qingcheng was looking. Sure enough, he saw Zhao Nana walking through the corridor surrounded by several leaders, like the moon surrounded by stars. Zhao Nana is about 170 centimeters tall and is wearing casual clothes. The hem of her creamy white tight-fitting sweater is tucked into her hip skirt, outlining her slender waist and plump chest, with 2 long legs in stockings below. Zhao Nana is such a beauty, her body is so damn hot. With her figure, she can debut as a star right away. My goddess, that son of a bitch Sun Jigang, is so blind that he cheated on her with such a girl. Now, it's all in vain, he deserves it. The attention of several colleagues was instantly drawn to it, and they started discussing it. Jiang Huai also came over and ate the melon with them. Based on my experience of seeing countless women, her figure is one of the best in the world, thin on the outside but plump to the touch. Jiang Huai nodded, yes, yes, yes. And I roughly estimated that it shouldn't be D, but E. Oh, life should be enjoyed to the fullest. Jiang Huai nodded, yeah, that's right. Also, these 2 long legs are comparable to those of a supermodel. As the saying goes, a girl's legs should be measured by her waist. This length is just right. Jiang Huai nodded, yes, that's right. Several colleagues turned around and looked at Jiang Huai in confusion. What are you right about here? Jiang Huai looked at them and said seriously, you are all right. Really? You talk as if you've touched it. Colleagues sneered. I've touched it. Jiang Huai nodded. What kind of dream are you having? Of course, his colleagues didn't believe Jiang Huai. It's daytime now, raise your pillow a little higher. Har har har. What's the fuss during work hours? Just as several people were pushing and shoving, a cold voice suddenly came from the side. Jiang Huai turned around and saw Wang Chuan standing behind them, looking at them expressionlessly. If you do it again during working hours, you will have half a day's salary deducted. Wang Chuan said as he walked past them with an arrogant look on his face. TSK, you haven't even become a manager yet, but you're already acting like one. We are still at the same level now, why should he control us? Cao Qingcheng said unconvinced. Jiang Huai pulled his clothes and told him not to talk. Their fighting in the company did violate company rules, and Wang Chuan is now a popular figure among the higher-ups, so there is no benefit in confronting him. Half an hour later, it was almost time for lunch. Jiang Huai put down his mouse and prepared to go out for lunch. At this time, Wang Chuan walked to Jiang Huai's side with a pile of information. Jiang Huai, get these materials out. We'll need them in an hour. Jiang Huai glanced at it and said, this is not my job. Wang Chuan paused. These were actually his own business. It was just that he heard the news today that he was going to be promoted. He was so happy that he showed off everywhere and didn't even have time to do his work. It was almost noon and the information had to be rushed out, so he thought of Jiang Huai. Although Jiang Huai has not been in the company for long, he graduated from a key university and has first-class working ability and high efficiency. Jiang Huai, these materials must be rushed out now. You work fast and help me get them done. I will not miss out on your benefits in the future. After saying that, Wang Chuan gave Jiang Huai a look that those who understood would understand. Wang Chuan is going to be promoted soon, and the entire department will be under his charge. If you build a good relationship with him in advance, everyone in the company will be able to get along with you in the future. If it were anyone else, they would have happily agreed. I'm sorry, I've finished my work and I'm going to take a lunch break. You can go find them and whoever wants to do it can do it. Jiang Huai didn't buy Wang Chuan's tricks and just got up and left. Chapter 6 Zhao Nana's Revenge. You. Wang Chuan was so angry that he gritted his teeth. He didn't expect Jiang Huai to not give him face. I'll do it, it's just a few documents, and it will be done soon. At this time, several colleagues in the office quickly agreed. Wang Chuan handed over the documents and said with a smile, thank you for your hard work. I'll treat you to dinner tonight. Har har, a promotion should be celebrated. Several people in the office flattered him. Congratulations, Manager Wang. Wang Chuan laughed twice, turned his head to look in the direction Jiang Huai left. A cold look flashed across his eyes. A small intern is so stylish. Wang Chuan snorted coldly. The board of directors will appoint a manager this afternoon. Once he becomes the manager, the first person he will target is Jiang Huai. Young people are still too naive. Jiang Huai walked out of the office door. It was now 12 o'clock and he was going out to eat something. When passing the stairwell, a white and tender hand suddenly stretched out from behind the stairwell door and pulled Jiang Huai in. Jiang Huai was startled. He waited until the door of the stairwell closed, and then in the dim light he could see clearly that it was Zhao Nana. "Big sister, could you please say hello first next time? It's so scary." Jiang Huai patted his chest, looking very frightened. Zhao Nana stared at Jiang Huai angrily. "Did you tell anyone about what happened yesterday?" Jiang Huai was confused. "No. Why should I tell others about this? This is not a glorious thing. Should I tell the world?" Zhao Nana stared at Jiang Huai like a vigilant little kitten for more than 10 seconds. After confirming that Jiang Huai was not lying, she breathed a sigh of relief and threatened. "I'm telling you, yesterday's events are only known to you and me. No one else can know about it. Otherwise, I'll make you pay." As Zhao Nana spoke, her cheeks flushed as she thought of what happened yesterday. "I know. You asked me to tell you, but I didn't. Don't you know how damaging this is to your reputation? You don't want it, but I do. So boring." Jiang Huai said unhappily. After what happened yesterday, Jiang Huai also thought about it seriously. Although he and Zhao Nana had sex, that was just Zhao Nana venting her emotions after drinking. This kind of thing is very normal for young men and women nowadays. Although Zhao Nana is very beautiful and rich, after what happened with Xinjia, Jiang Huai doesn't want to be affected by a woman again this time. So what if the other party is a celestial being? Love? Even dogs don't talk about it. No woman can shake his determination. He just wants to make good money and live a carefree life. After confirming that Jiang Huai didn't tell anyone, Zhao Nana breathed a sigh of relief. But suddenly, she felt something was wrong. Jiang Huai's indifferent attitude, expression, and, is he disgusted with her? She originally came to warn him because she was afraid that Jiang Huai would tell others and affect her image. But now seeing that Jiang Huai was trying to avoid her, she became even angrier. You dislike me." Zhao Nana clenched her fist and punched Jiang Huai in the chest. Why didn't you tell anyone? Is it because I can't do it and I'm embarrassing you?" Jiang Huai was hit by a punch and took a step back, looking at Zhao Nana in confusion. "What are you crazy about? You were the one who said not to tell anyone. Why are you angry now that I didn't tell anyone?" Jiang Huai shook his head. It was true that women have very unique trains of thought. Zhao Nana choked, but still felt very aggrieved. From childhood to adulthood, she has always been a treasure in the palm of others' hands, loved by her parents and praised by people around her. No one has ever treated her like Jiang Huai. "Jiang Huai, you're annoying. I'm going to ask them to fire you." Zhao Nana felt extremely aggrieved and suddenly wanted to cry. With tears in her eyes, she threatened anxiously and angrily. Open now." After hearing what Zhao Nana said, Jiang Huai became impatient. "I don't want to do this job anymore, it's just right that I'm fired." After saying that, Jiang Huai opened the door of the stairwell and went out without looking back. Jiang Huai. Zhao Nana was so anxious that she stomped her feet behind her and tears fell uncontrollably. In fact, as long as Jiang Huai coaxed her a little, she would be fine immediately. But this annoying Jiang Huai, he doesn't even say a word to coax me, so annoying. Zhao Nana wiped away her tears, tidied her appearance, and walked out of the stairwell. As soon as I walked into the corridor, I saw a short-haired woman in her 30s walking towards me. The woman was wearing a smart business suit. She was the director of the sales department and her name was Xie Jing. As soon as Xie Jing saw Zhao Nana, she hurried over and said with a smile, "Nana, you haven't eaten yet, right? I know there is a Korean restaurant nearby, the food is pretty good, let's go together." Xie Jing tilted her head slightly, her smile was very sincere, and there was no sign of flattery at all. However, Zhao Nana is already accustomed to this kind of situation. As the daughter of the company's vice president, all the managers in the company, big and small, try to please and fawn on her intentionally or unintentionally. Zhao Nana was already tired and was in a bad mood because of Jiang Huai. Zhao Nana was about to refuse, but suddenly she remembered that Jiang Huai seemed to be from the sales department. Zhao Nana nodded and followed Xie Jing's guidance into the elevator. Director Xie, are you busy this afternoon? Entering the elevator, Zhao Nana asked intentionally or unintentionally. I've already dealt with the important things this morning. There's not a lot to do this afternoon. After Sun leaves, we need to choose someone to be the manager of sales department 4. The decision will be made this afternoon. Xie Jing spoke truthfully, and at the same time observed Zhao Nana's expression with her peripheral vision, fearing that she would bring up Sun Jigang and cause her sadness. Oh, Zhao Nana nodded, have you chosen the candidate? Xie Jing was stunned. Why was Zhao Nana suddenly concerned about their department's affairs? Normally this young lady doesn't care about anything. What happened today? Xie Jing answered truthfully. I've chosen one, and it's Wang Chuan from their department. Wang Chuan has been in the position for more than 10 years and has rich work experience. There are no problems with his qualifications. I think he's pretty good. More than 10 years. Zhao Nana nodded and looked up at Xie Jing. Although the old employees have long qualifications and rich experience, now is a critical period for the company to move forward. We must add some fresh blood. Sometimes, the old employees' thinking is rigid, which is not conducive to the company's development and innovation. Xie Jing was stunned and it took her a few seconds to react. They are all veterans in the workplace. How could Xie Jing, a 1,000-year-old fox, not understand what Zhao Nana meant? Something bad is going to happen. Yes, I think you are right. Xie Jing turned the conversation around. In fact, we are just considering the promotion of Wang Chuan. It has not been officially decided yet and is still under investigation. After a pause, Xie Jing frowned and said painfully. Actually, I'm having a hard time too. There are dozens or even hundreds of people in the sales department. The old employees have their own strengths, and the new employees are also excellent. I can't make up my mind for the moment. Why don't you help me think about it? I really have no idea what to do. These words just touched Zhao Nana's heart, and she coughed. I think Jiang Huai, who just finished his internship in their department, is pretty good. Let's pick him. Jiang Huai. The image of Jiang Huai suddenly appeared in Xie Jing's mind. He seemed to be a very handsome young man of 1.85 meters tall. Okay, that's settled. Xie Jing said with a smile, and complimented, it's you who solved my problem. Zhao Nana also smiled and gritted her teeth secretly. You want to leave, but I won't let you. I'll even give you a promotion. I won't let you get what you want. Humph. She felt that she had just been bullied by Jiang Huai and now she finally felt relieved. Chapter 7 Jiang Huai, Promotion Please Collect and Read. When Jiang Huai returned to the company, he found that his colleagues were looking at him strangely. They all lowered their heads and discussed something, but as soon as he entered the office, everyone stopped, pretending to be busy with their own things, and kept glancing at Jiang Huai. What's wrong? Jiang Huai walked to his seat and sat down, then asked his colleague Cao Qingcheng next to him. Cao Qingcheng glanced around, then turned his head and said, I heard from others that Wang Chuan is inviting his colleagues to dinner at Jiang Huai Hotel tonight. Oh. Jiang Huai nodded, pulled out a stool and sat down. You haven't even been promoted yet, and you're already forming cliques. Cao Qingcheng shook his head helplessly and whispered, it doesn't matter whether I go or not, but you just joined the company, I think you should control your temper a little, be patient and don't offend others. Cao Qingcheng lowered his voice. From what Wang Chuan said just now, it seems that those who obey me will prosper, and those who disobey me will perish. Because of what happened between you and Wang Chuan, he seems to be trying to harm you. You should be more careful in the future. Jiang Huai laughed and didn't take it to heart. At this time, Wang Chuan walked into the office from outside, looking very high-spirited. In the morning, Xie Jing, the director of the sales department, came to see him and asked some questions such as his willingness for promotion. Just now, he went to inquire again. Except for Xie Jing, who had gone out to eat and had not returned yet, several people in the office confirmed that it should be him. As the current situation shows, it is almost certain that he will be the manager of the 4th department. Now we just have to wait for Director Xie Jing to come back from dinner and then announce the news. The more Wang Chuan thought about it, the more excited he became, and he was smiling the whole day. He stood at the door of the office and announced, the seats at the Jiang Huai Hotel have been reserved. You can go directly there after get off work. Eat and drink as much as you want today. We will be a team from now on. Everyone, please cooperate with my work. There was a sudden cheer in the office. Congratulations, Manager Wang. Congratulations on your promotion. You must take care of us in the future. Congratulations. Wang Chuan looked proudly at his colleagues who were cheering in the office, and then he saw Jiang Huai who was working hard. Wang Chuan walked to Jiang Huai's computer with a smile, and said with a fake smile, "Jiang Huai, remember to come later." Jiang Huai raised his head and said, "Thank you, congratulations." Hearing Jiang Huai's congratulations, Wang Chuan became even happier. He looked at Jiang Huai with great interest. "I will be the manager in the future, and I will have the final say in the entire sales department. Jiang Huai, you young people may not understand the rules of the workplace. If you apologize to me now for what happened this morning, I will let it go, and we can still be good colleagues in the future." The office fell silent. Almost everyone lowered their heads silently, but their ears were perked up for fear of missing a single word. Jiang Huai looked up in confusion and thought for a moment, "Did I offend you this morning?" At this time, Cao Qingcheng beside him pulled Jiang Huai's sleeve, signaling him not to confront Wang Chuan. Seeing Jiang Huai's indifferent attitude, Wang Chuan also got angry, his face darkened. "Jiang Huai, you have to obey the orders given by your leader. You rejected the job I gave you this morning, and you will be punished according to the regulations. If you apologize now, I won't pursue the matter. After all, we are all colleagues." "Leader." Jiang Huai looked at Wang Chuan seriously, not intimidated at all, and said directly, "The promotion hasn't been announced yet, so you are the leader? Besides, are you arranging work for me? You are asking me to do the work that you can't finish yourself. This is lazy." Jiang Huai didn't mean to target Wang Chuan, it's just that Wang Chuan was too arrogant. He had this attitude even though he wasn't even a manager yet. If he becomes a manager, he will be very successful. How will they live in the future? He would never tolerate such a person. Wang Chuan was so angry that his face turned red. He didn't expect Jiang Huai to be so unmoved. Are young people nowadays so difficult to manage? Wang Chuan laughed angrily. "Okay, Jiang Huai, I hope you remember what you just said." At this moment, a woman walked in from the office door. It was Xie Jing, who had gone out to dinner with Zhao Nana before. As soon as Xie Jing entered the office, everyone's attention was drawn to her. Especially Wang Chuan. After seeing Xie Jing, he didn't care about what happened with Jiang Huai, and hurried over with a smile and poured a glass of water for Xie Jing. "Director Xie, is there any problem with our work?" Wang Chuan asked deliberately. He knew that Xie Jing was here to announce the manager position, and his heart was already flying with joy. Jiang Huai also looked up and sized up the director. Xie Jing was a very capable woman in her 30s, with short, slightly curly hair and a well-fitting suit. It was said that she was an iron lady in the workplace, and she was always vigorous and resolute in her work every day. Xie Jing glanced around the office and saw Jiang Huai. Sure enough, this boy was very handsome. Before coming, Xie Jing specifically checked Jiang Huai's information and found that although Jiang Huai had only been in the company for more than 3 months and had just completed his internship, he was quite capable and had already dealt with several problems that had arisen in the company. Overall, it looks good. Xie Jing took a sip of water and cleared her throat. "I was going to have a small meeting, but since everyone is working, I'll make it short. As you all know, after Sun Jigang left, the position of sales manager of the 4th department became vacant, and a lot of work could not be carried out. After the board of directors' resolution, we decided to nominate someone from the 4th department to serve as the sales manager." "Really?" After hearing Xie Jing's words, everyone in the office understood what was going on, and they all looked at Wang Chuan with envy. Everyone knew the result. It was a foregone conclusion that Wang Chuan would become the manager. Wang Chuan stood beside Xie Jing, suppressing his excitement, and bowed to Xie Jing. "Thank you for your trust and cultivation. I will definitely work hard to do all my work and follow your lead." Xie Jing glanced at Wang Chuan, a hint of emotion flashed in her eyes, and then announced, "This person is Jiang Huai. I hope you will cooperate with him in the future and work together to make the sales department a success." Wow! Everyone thought they had heard it wrong. What? Who did Director Xie mention? Did I hear it right? It's Jiang Huai. Not Wang Chuan. What's going on? Isn't the manager Wang Chuan? At this time, Wang Chuan was still bowing to Xie Jing with his head down. After hearing what Xie Jing said, he opened his eyes wide in astonishment, his body straightened up stiffly, and looked at Xie Jing in disbelief. He forced a smile that was uglier than crying and asked, "Director Xie, was the announcement wrong? Are the board of directors sure they meant to mention Jiang Huai?" "Yes, that's right." Xie Jing nodded. At this moment, the most surprised person in the office was Jiang Huai himself. He never thought that he would be the manager. "I am just a newcomer who has just finished my internship. I shouldn't be responsible for anything. Also, didn't Zhao Nana say she wanted to fire me?" Seeing Jiang Huai's surprised look, Xie Jing couldn't help laughing. She walked to Jiang Huai, patted him on the shoulder, and said with a meaningful smile, "Jiang Huai, work hard, I'm counting on you." Chapter 8 Zhao Nana, "Humph, it's just Jiang Huai, you can control him. Thank you for the company's kindness. I will definitely lead the sales department for well." At this point, Jiang Huai could only stand up and express his gratitude. After Xie Jing left the office, their whole office suddenly became lively. "Jiang Huai, I didn't expect you to be so talented. How did you manage to get Director Xie to do it? I didn't realize, Jiang Huai, you're quite good at stealing. Everyone thought it was Wang Chuan, but it turned out to be you. How could Director Xie be interested in you? What's your relationship with her? Tell me." Colleagues looked at Jiang Huai with envy and jealousy. More of curiosity. After all, it is impossible for Xie Jing to mention Jiang Huai for no reason. What is the connection between them and Xinghai? As they thought about it, their colleagues opened their eyes wide in surprise. "I heard that Director Xie had been divorced a long time ago and was raising a teenage daughter alone. Could it be Jiang Huai?" "It's possible." "Jiang Huai, so you are this kind of person?" For a moment, everyone's eyes on Jiang Huai changed again. "Don't guess, I don't know why either." Jiang Huai thought about it for a long time but couldn't figure it out. This manager position appeared out of nowhere and he was not mentally prepared at all. But now it is a foregone conclusion. Jiang Huai is now the manager of their sales department and the boss of everyone in their office, including Wang Chuan. Among these people, Wang Chuan was the most angry. He didn't understand why Xie Jing had clearly agreed that it would be him, but suddenly changed her mind. Wang Chuan gritted his teeth and sat back in his seat quietly. Of course, Jiang Huai saw all of Wang Chuan's actions. Jiang Huai walked to the front, looked at everyone in the office, and said seriously, "Since the board of directors has given me this opportunity, I will lead our sales department for well. From now on, I will not allow my subordinates to form cliques. I only need employees who work hard and obey orders. Okay, Manager Jiang?" Everyone in the office answered in unison. "I'll be frank first, because I'm also a newcomer and I'm still learning. If you think I made any mistakes at work, feel free to point them out and I'll correct them. If there is anyone who dislikes me or doesn't accept my management, you can leave now. I won't make things difficult for anyone. However, I don't like others to play tricks behind my back. If I find someone who is betraying me, I will never let him off easily if I catch him." "Yes." Jiang Huai looked around, and finally his eyes stopped on Wang Chuan. "Wang Chuan, do you think I'm right?" Wang Chuan watched Jiang Huai setting the rules in front while he could only sit in the audience and listen to the lecture. He was so angry that he wanted to slam the table and leave. But the fact is helpless. He has a family, with elderly parents and young children to take care of, and he has to pay a mortgage. This job is his family's only income, and he cannot quit his job at will. Wang Chuan gritted his teeth and gave Jiang Huai an ugly smile. "Yes, Manager Jiang is right. Okay." Jiang Huai nodded and handed over the stack of documents in his hand. "This is what I didn't finish just now. Please finish it and give it to me before you get off work." Wang Chuan was so angry that his face turned blue. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that Jiang Huai was slapping Wang Chuan in the face. In the morning, he gave his unfinished work to Jiang Huai, and now, Jiang Huai taught him the work in return. But Jiang Huai could refuse Wang Chuan in the morning, but now Wang Chuan cannot refuse Jiang Huai, because Jiang Huai has become Wang Chuan's immediate superior and he must obey Jiang Huai's orders. "Yes." Wang Chuan lowered his head and took the information, not daring to say a word of objection. "Okay, I've said everything I need to say, let's get back to work." After Jiang Huai finished his instructions, he walked into the manager's office. The manager's office is located inside the office, in a separated space. This position had always belonged to Sun Jigang. Because of the incident between him and Shinjia, the company punished him severely. Later, the security guards did not allow him to enter the company and directly kicked him out. Jiang Huai opened the door, put away some unused things in the office, and tidied them up for a while. The manager's job is much easier and freer than before. Jiang Huai used to sit in front of the computer all day to process data, but now he doesn't have to do that. He is only responsible for reviewing and, when necessary, going out to meet clients and discuss orders. After 2 busy hours, it was soon time to get off work. Colleagues in the office left one after another, and Jiang Huai was also preparing to leave. Just as he was about to go out, his cell phone rang. Jiang Huai took out his cell phone and saw that it was an unfamiliar number with 4 8s at the end. Jiang Huai frowned in confusion, then picked up the phone. "Hello? Who is this? You annoying guy, are you off work?" Zhao Nanner's voice came from the other end of the phone. "Miss Zhao. What do you want?" Jiang Huai said as he walked outside. On the other end of the phone, Zhao Nanner bit her lip. At this moment, she had a look of pride on her face, but she couldn't help but show her joy. "I heard that you got a promotion. Are you happy?" Zhao Nanner said. "Promotion? How did she know I got a promotion? And why is she so concerned?" Jiang Huai was stunned for a moment, then he immediately understood. He wondered why Xie Jing suddenly chose him to be the manager, and it turned out that Zhao Nanner was the one who was interfering. Listening to Zhao Nanner's uncontrollable excitement, Jiang Huai almost imagined Zhao Nanner's happy and boastful expression. Jiang Huai shook his head. Since ancient times, people with connections have been able to crush people to death. It is true. Wang Chuan probably spent the whole day trying to figure out why he lost. "Why should I be happy? Don't you want me to leave?" "Boring," Jiang Huai said unhappily. "Hey, why are you like this?" Zhao Nanner shouted impatiently. Aye. Zhao Nanner wanted to say something, but paused. After a few seconds, she said, "Hurry up, come to the parking lot. I'll tell you a secret. After hearing this secret, you will definitely thank me." "Secret? Isn't he the secret that you told Xie Jing to let me be the manager?" Jiang Huai had already guessed what the secret Zhao Nanner was talking about was. "Hurry up, I'm waiting for you." After Zhao Nanner finished speaking, she was afraid that Jiang Huai would go back on his word, so she quickly hung up the phone. Zhao Nanner walked out of the elevator, went to her Mercedes-Benz, leaned against it, and couldn't suppress a smile on her face. "Humph, you stinky Jiang Huai, see if you are still turning your back on me. Wait a minute, if you find out that it was me who helped you get promoted and got a raise, you won't thank me." Zhao Nanner thought about it and remembered that Jiang Huai thanked her in front of her and sincerely apologized for his previous attitude towards her. Thinking of this, Zhao Nanner couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Let you have a bad temper, humph, control." Zhao Nanner looked at the G-Class and suddenly thought of the romantic moment they had in the car in the parking lot of Jianhao Hotel yesterday. Zhao Nanner blushed, too embarrassed to imagine anything further, and quickly reached out to open the car door. But just as she turned around and was about to open the car door, she suddenly saw 2 shadows on the car window. Zhao Nanner was startled and took a step to the side. She turned around and saw a man in black standing behind her. "Who?" Zhao Nanner was startled. She saw a man in black, wearing a black hat and a black mask, standing behind her, staring at her. "Nana, it's me. Don't you recognize me so soon?" As the man in black pulled down his mask and hat, his face was revealed, and it was none other than Sun Jigang. "Sun Jigang? What are you doing here?" When Zhao Nanner saw Sun Jigang, her face immediately darkened. "Please collect and read. I'm rolling on the ground and begging." Chapter 9: Who is the best hero to save the beauty? After Sun Jigang was fired from Chenshin Company, his future was ruined. Zhao Nanner's father, Zhao Haichuan, not only deducted all of his salary, but he also sued Sun Jigang to compensate the company for hundreds of thousands of dollars in losses. In addition, Zhao Haichuan also greeted all his colleagues in Ning City. Now Sun Jigang's glorious deeds have spread among his colleagues, and no company is willing to accept him. Even his former good friends avoided him. Seeing Zhao Nanner's refusal, Sun Jigang's eyes flashed with a haze, but he still patiently explained, "Nanner, I really know I was wrong, please give me another chance, I will make a good start." "Go away, we no longer have any relationship, there is no possibility of recovery between us, you make me sick." Zhao Nana said as she stepped back. Nana, please. Sun Jigang kept begging, I hope you can let me go upstairs to pack my things for the sake of our previous relationship. I dropped something very important in the office. Please help me, okay? Go away, go away. I won't let you work in the company again, get out. Zhao Nana's evasive attitude completely irritated Sun Jigang. Seeing that Zhao Nana was determined to reject him, Sun Jigang finally stopped pretending. He suddenly pulled out a dagger from his waist. What are you going to do? Zhao Nana saw the cold light of the dagger and was so frightened that she kept backing away. What? Sun Jigang changed his pleading attitude and grabbed Zhao Nana's clothes, saying viciously. You said I was disgusting. Humph, you couldn't wait to sleep with another man on your wedding day? You bitch, you are so noble. Tell me, have you two been together before? Let me go, help. Zhao Nana was caught by Sun Jigang. She struggled hard and was extremely frightened. Hearing Zhao Nana's terrified cry, Sun Jigang was not afraid at all, but became even more excited. I checked the surveillance here before I came here. This is a blind spot. You can shout as much as you want, but no one will come. Zhao Nana was scared. Sun Jigang held her tightly with the dagger against her chest. The biting cold seemed to have pierced her skin. Zhao Nana had never experienced such a situation before. She was so frightened that she trembled all over and kept begging. Sun Jigang, you are committing a crime. Please let me go. I have money. I can give you money. I will ask my father to withdraw the lawyer's letter and ask him not to take your money. I have never hurt you. Please let me go, okay? Zhao Nana begged, tears streaming down her face. Sun Jigang looked at Zhao Nana begging desperately, but he didn't feel soft-hearted. Instead, he felt even more excited. A fire of evil in his chest seemed to be about to erupt. He looked at Zhao Nana's heaving chest. Thinking back to when he was in love with Zhao Nana before, in order to cater to Zhao Nana's wishes, he never touched Zhao Nana, and the most they did was hold hands. Thinking of this, Sun Jigang instantly lost control. Money, what use do I have for money now? You slut, aren't you very good at being frivolous in front of others? I'm going to try it today. After saying that, Sun Jigang pulled Zhao Nana's clothes. Help! Sun Jigang, you devil, don't hurt me. Zhao Nana was already crying. She kept struggling and ran behind her. But how could she be a match for Sun Jigang? What's more, she was wearing a pair of high heels. After running forward only 2 steps, Zhao Nana tripped and fell to the ground. Seeing Sun Jigang reaching out one hand to tear off her clothes, Zhao Nana closed her eyes in pain. Bang! At this moment, Zhao Nana heard a loud noise and Sun Jigang's scream. Zhao Nana opened her eyes in horror and saw 2 figures fighting not far away. Jiang Huai pressed Sun Jigang to the ground and hammered on Sun Jigang's head with his sandbag-sized fists. R. Sun Jigang was beaten so hard that he was dizzy and wanted to resist, but Jiang Huai grabbed his throat tightly and he could only keep waving the dagger in his hand. Jiang Huai, I'm going to kill you. Seeing that it was Jiang Huai, Sun Jigang became even angrier. He already hated Jiang Huai, and now he wanted to kill Jiang Huai even more. But Jiang Huai didn't give Sun Jigang any chance at all. He gritted his teeth and punched Sun Jigang hard on the temple. Sun Jigang's eyes were instantly filled with blood red, and he could no longer see anything. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Jiang Huai's huge fists hit Sun Jigang's head and body one after another. Sun Jigang was lying on the ground, completely receiving a beating. After more than 10 minutes, the dagger in Sun Jigang's hand fell to the ground with a ding-dong sound. At this time, he had been beaten by Jiang Huai, with a swollen nose and a swollen face, blood flowing from his mouth, and he was lying on the ground motionless. Jiang Huai then got up from Sun Jigang and kicked him hard again. Sun Jigang finally fainted completely. Jiang Huai then turned around and saw Zhao Nana still sitting in the same place, her eyes still full of fear and her whole body shaking. It's okay. Jiang Huai walked over and picked up Zhao Nana. Feeling the warmth of Jiang Huai's body, Zhao Nana hugged Jiang Huai's neck tightly, and then she burst into tears. Jiang Huai, he said he wanted to go upstairs to get something, and if I didn't agree, he would kill me. I'm so scared. Woo. It's okay, it's okay. Jiang Huai patted Zhao Nana's back gently. Fortunately, Zhao Nana was wearing a thin turtleneck sweater today, which was of good quality, so Sun Jigang only pulled out a few threads. Jiang Huai put Zhao Nanar into the Mercedes-Benz. Can you still drive? Zhao Nanar hugged Jiang Huai's neck tightly, not letting go at all, and said in a naughty way. Jiang Huai, I'm scared, I want you to stay with me. Jiang Huai was helpless. Miss, you have to let me go first, otherwise how can I drive? Promise me you won't leave. Zhao Nanar pouted and acted coquettishly. Okay, I won't leave. After getting Jiang Huai's affirmation, Zhao Nanar let Jiang Huai go. Jiang Huai stood up, closed the car door, and walked around to the driver's cab from the other side. Am I taking you home now? Jiang Huai turned and looked at Zhao Nanar. Zhao Nanar sat in the passenger seat, staring blankly at Jiang Huai. You said you would accompany me, and you still want me to go home. Jiang Huai was helpless. Where are you going? It's already off work. Zhao Nanar was so angry that she rolled her eyes. How should I know where to go? Jiang Huai sighed, glanced at Sun Jigang who was lying half dead on the ground, and took out his cell phone to call the police. But after thinking about it, he put the phone back. Sun Jigang's current condition is that his face has been swollen like a pig's head, and there are wounds of varying sizes all over his body. There is a lot of scarlet blood on the ground, and it looks extremely tragic. On the other hand, Jiang Huai was hardly injured. This was a parking lot, and Sun Jigang had previously investigated this place and found it to be a blind spot with no surveillance. If the police came, Jiang Huai might not only be unable to escape but also get into a lot of trouble. The police might even accuse him of excessive self-defense. Jiang Huai didn't want to waste Wu Wei's time on Sun Jigang, so he shook his head and drove out of the parking lot. The Mercedes-Benz was driving in the traffic, but Zhao Nanar had no intention of looking at the scenery outside the window. She glanced at Jiang Huai from time to time. At this time, Jiang Huai had several bruises on his face, his hair was messy, and his pure white t-shirt was covered in dust. Just now, when she was most helpless, it was this man who saved her. When Jiang Huai beat Sun Jigang, that brave figure lingered in Zhao Nanar's mind. At this moment, an inexplicable feeling appeared in Zhao Nanar's heart, which took root and sprouted like a seed. What are you looking at? Have you ever seen a super handsome guy like me? Jiang Huai suddenly said unhappily. Zhao Nanar was stunned and suddenly felt embarrassed. Jiang Huai never says nice things and his mouth is always so foul. Humph, so ugly. Still handsome. I've never seen such an ugly man. Zhao Nanar snorted stubbornly, and suddenly, she saw Jiang Huai's hands bleeding while holding the steering wheel. You are injured. Zhao Nanar suddenly panicked. Thanks to the bosses for their support. Chapter 10 Jiang Huai, don't eat. Please read and collect. Jiang Huai then noticed that he might have been not paying attention when fighting with Sun Jigang just now, and was scratched by his dagger. There were small cuts on the little finger and ring finger of his right hand, and they were bleeding at this time. It's okay, just a minor injury. Jiang Huai said indifferently. It's bleeding, how could it be a minor injury? Zhao Nanar felt as if the sky had fallen. You need to treat this wound quickly, otherwise you will get tetanus. Seeing Zhao Nanar startled, Jiang Huai didn't care at all. How could a boy be so delicate? He had broken his hand when he was a child, but it's still intact now, right? But Zhao Nanar refused and insisted that Jiang Huai stop the car. Jiang Huai, I order you to stop the car immediately. Zhao Nanar looked fierce, like a kitten baring its teeth, staring at Jiang Huai. There is a parking lot here, just turn in from this alley, immediately, yes, stop the car. Jiang Huai had no choice but to follow Zhao Nanar's instructions and turn the car into the parking lot. After parking the car, Zhao Nanar opened the door and jumped out, not forgetting to turn around and fiercely warn Jiang Huai. I'm going to buy you some medicine. Stay here and don't move. Do you hear me? If you're not here when I come back, you'll be dead. After saying that, Zhao Nanar ran outside. Jiang Huai laughed, put down the seat and lay down to rest. I opened my phone and saw nothing to read except a message from my ex-girlfriend Shinjia. Where are you? Jiang Huai held the phone. He didn't expect Shinjia would send him a message. Shouldn't she be living together with the scumbag Sun Jigang? It was like this in the previous life. Oh, so he is ruined. Jiang Huai didn't want to have anything to do with this woman, so he blocked Shinjia without replying. He felt disgusted if he said anything more to a woman like this. Zhao Nanar came back in less than 10 minutes, holding some band-aids, gauze and other medicines in her hands. Put your hand over here. Zhao Nana spread out the gauze and ordered Jiang Huai. Jiang Huai stretched out his hand. His fingers were still dripping with blood, some of which had already solidified on his hand. Oh no, I forgot to bring tissues. Zhao Nana screamed at this time. She had prepared everything, but there was no tissue. What should I do? The doctor said that the wound must be cleaned before it can be bandaged. Zhao Nana was muttering to herself as she searched the car, but her car had just been washed yesterday and everything inside was clean and there was nothing inside. Zhao Nana held Jiang Huai's hand and searched anxiously for a long time. Finally, she was at a loss. She got anxious and put Jiang Huai's finger directly into her mouth. Jiang Huai was stunned, and an inexplicable feeling suddenly arose. Zhao Nana's soft lips wrapped around his fingers, and her flexible and moist tongue kept sucking the blood. Don't move. Zhao Nana gave Jiang Huai a warning look. Jiang Huai closed his eyes and tried to calm down. Zhao Nana licked the blood off Jiang Huai's fingers before wrapping them with layer upon layer of gauze. Finally, she tied a beautiful bow and said with a satisfied smile, "It's bandaged, let's go." Seeing that Jiang Huai still had his eyes closed, Zhao Nana reached out and pushed him. "You can go now, okay." Jiang Huai grabbed Zhao Nana's hand and pulled it hard. "You can't leave." "Can't leave? Why?" Before she could finish her words, Zhao Nana opened her eyes wide in surprise, and she saw a pillar rising high into the sky. Before she could react, Jiang Huai's other hand had already reached into her sweater and touched her flat belly. Zhao Nana's body trembled. The next second, the huge twin hills above were occupied. "Don't hear." Zhao Nana looked at Jiang Huai, her eyes misty as she protested softly. Jiang Huai raised his head from her chest. "As I recall, the back seat of your car can be laid flat, right?" Zhao Nana nodded shyly. "Don't wear this sweater next time. It's very inconvenient," Jiang Huai said unhappily. "Jiang Huai, my legs are sore." "Jiang Huai, I don't want to eat." "Jiang Huai, it's getting dark." When the Mercedes-Benz stopped and swayed, the lights were already coming on. Jiang Huai sat in the driving seat again, started the car and drove out of the parking lot. Zhao Nana was lying in the back seat, limp like a puddle of water. Jiang Huai looked at the time. It was 9:30 and his stomach was growling with hunger. Jiang Huai drove while paying attention to the surrounding environment and finally stopped in front of a restaurant. "Sir, how many people are there?" The hotel security guard came over and asked at the right time. "You too." Jiang Huai opened the back door and looked at Zhao Nana, who was lying like a puddle of water. "Come down to eat." "No." Zhao Nana closed her eyes slightly and refused. "Do you want me to carry you out?" Jiang Huai rolled up his sleeves and prepared to start. Zhao Nana, like him, came out right after get off work. It was past dinner time now and she must be hungry, but she just didn't want to move. "Jiang Huai, you can't just pack some for me." Zhao Nana protested unhappily, and finally got out of the car reluctantly when she saw the security guard behind Jiang Huai. Even until Jiang Huai pressed her down on the chair, Zhao Nana still glared at Jiang Huai angrily. "What would you like to order?" The waiter came over with a menu. "Just bring me 2 of the signature dishes. We're all hungry." "Hurry up." "Okay," the waiter nodded and agreed. Zhao Nana stared at Jiang Huai unhappily. Now that she sat down, she seriously thought about her situation today. Her original intention was to suppress Jiang Huai, to force him to apologize to her and then surrender, but she was still feeling complacent about it before. Why? This was a completely unexpected development. Now Jiang Huai still gives her a sour face, and she is being taken advantage of by him. Thinking of this, Zhao Nana became even angrier. "I need to go to the bathroom." Zhao Nana stood up angrily. "Please." Jiang Huai didn't even raise his head, not understanding why this woman was so moody. He clearly didn't provoke her. "You were screaming so loudly just now, it felt so good, okay?" While waiting for the meal, Jiang Huai played with his mobile phone out of boredom. At this moment, he suddenly heard a voice next to him. "Jiang Huai, why are you here?" Jiang Huai looked up suddenly and saw his ex-girlfriend Shenjia standing in front of him. Seeing Shenjia, Jiang Huai's good mood disappeared instantly. "Why didn't you reply to my message? Why did you block me?" Thinking about how Jiang Huai had just blocked her, Shenjia became furious. When they were dating, Jiang Huai was the best to her. When they first came to the company, they were both interns. The salary for interns was not high, but Jiang Huai would hand over almost all of his salary to her every month, and he would eat steamed buns and instant noodles every day. In the past, Shinjo always treated Jiang Huai as someone she wanted and someone she could dismiss at will. Even though Shinjo cheated on her, she still believed that Jiang Huai was hers. In Shinjo's eyes, Jiang Huai's previous kindness to her was all that of a bootlicker. Jiang Huai loves her to the core, he will be hers in life and her ghost in death. But just now, she had just sent a message to Jiang Huai, and the second message could not be sent. Jiang Huai blocked her without saying a word. Chapter 11. Jiang Huai is my boyfriend. Just yesterday, after what happened in the hotel, Shinjo was accused and ridiculed by everyone, and the incident even spread to their university classmates group. Now Shinjo is almost like a rat crossing the street, and everyone is shouting and beating him. After waiting until nightfall, she was called to the police station for questioning. She stayed in the police station for half a day. When she came out at night, she couldn't wait to find Sun Jigang. She originally thought that the vows Sun Jigang made to her were sincere, and that Sun Jigang would not marry Zhao Nana. Now Sun Jigang could be with her openly. Unexpectedly, Sun Jigang slapped her twice on the spot, saying that Shinjo had made him penniless and cursed her as a bitch. Shinjo had no other options and had lost her job, so she thought of Jiang Huai. Did you hear me? I don't allow you to block me, add me back right now. Seeing that Jiang Huai didn't move, Shinjo reached out to grab Jiang Huai's phone. Do I need your consent to block you? Get away now and don't disturb me while I'm eating. Jiang Huai said impatiently. Har har. Shinjo laughed. I've already said that Sun Jigang and I were forced by him. I've already apologized to you. What else do you want? After saying this, Shinjo looked like he was giving arms, and continued. Jiang Huai, as long as you promise me now and reconcile with me again, I won't mind you playing those short videos. Jiang Huai smiled. Reconcile? Who gave you the courage to say this, Fish Liang? You? Shinjo didn't expect Jiang Huai to not give her face. She was so angry that she couldn't speak for a moment. After thinking about it, Shinjo smiled. Jiang Huai, playing hard to get, right? I'm telling you, don't be shameless. I just made a mistake that all women make. Look at you, without me, you would still be eating here alone, covered in dust and without anyone by your side. I advise you to quit while you're ahead. Who else would want a poor guy like you except me? Shinjo sneered, and after she finished speaking, she looked at Jiang Huai coldly, waiting for Jiang Huai to apologize to her. Who is not wanted? At this moment, Shinjo heard a crisp voice coming from behind him. She turned around in surprise and saw Zhao Nana had come out of the bathroom and was standing behind her. How come she is here? Shinjo was stunned. As a former employee of Chenshin Group, she had met Zhao Nana before, because Zhao Nana was Sun Jigang's fiancé before. Shinjo has seen Zhao Nana's photos more than once and was drooling with jealousy. Zhao Nana's appearance and figure are thousands of times better than Shinjo's. Moreover, Zhao Nana is a rich second generation. She was born with a silver spoon in her mouth and has everything she wants. However, Shinjo was only surprised for a moment, and then she regained her composure. Even if Zhao Nana's family was a shareholder of Chenshin Group, she was no longer an employee of Chenshin Group. Why should she be afraid of her? Thinking of this, Shinjo didn't take Zhao Nana seriously at all. Ms. Zhao, please get out of the way. I'm teaching my boyfriend a lesson, and you have no part in it. Boyfriend? Zhao Nana frowned and pointed at Jiang Huai, him. Yes. Shinjo looked up proudly. Zhao Nana was stunned, then laughed. Shinjo, how dare you say he is your boyfriend after betraying Jiang Huai? You? Shinjo was stunned. Then, she saw Zhao Nana walk to Jiang Huai's side, put her arm around Jiang Huai's neck, and sit her round buttocks directly on Jiang Huai's thighs. You guys? Shinjo's lips trembled, and he was so surprised that he couldn't speak. We what? I'm telling you now, Jiang Huai is my boyfriend now. How can a poor, short, and poor guy like you compare with me? Zhao Nana straightened her chest, and her majestic and magnificent double hills made Shinjo look pale in comparison. Shinjo was almost driven crazy. She didn't expect that as soon as Jiang Huai left her, someone would take over immediately, and it was Zhao Nana, who was 100 times better than her. You betrayed Jiang Huai first, looked down on him, and now you come to me and ask for reconciliation. Tell me, why does Jiang Huai want your pair of slut shoes? Because you don't have any flesh on your body? Because you are as tall as an egg? Because you are as ugly as a fossil? Because you spend his money? Shinjiao was so angry that her face turned blue after being scolded by Zhao Nana. She looked at Jiang Huai angrily. Jiang Huai, wait. After saying that, Shinjiao ran out crying. Seeing Shinjiao's fleeing back, Zhao Nana looked back at Jiang Huai triumphantly like a victorious soldier, boasting. How about it, Jiang Huai, am I awesome? Puff. Jiang Huai couldn't help laughing. Hearing Jiang Huai's laughter, Zhao Nana became annoyed and stared at Jiang Huai angrily. Don't make fun of me. Jiang Huai laughed even more happily. Damn Jiang Huai, you're so annoying. Zhao Nana punched Jiang Huai, stood up, sat down on the other side, and started eating angrily. After dinner, Jiang Huai sent Zhao Nana home, parked the car in front of the Zhao family's villa as usual, and left. The Zhao family's housekeeper came out as usual, opened the car door, and was surprised to find that Zhao Nana was sitting in the passenger seat again. Miss, did you call for a designated driver? Asked the old butler. Yes. Zhao Nana got out of the car and walked into the gate with her bag. Drive the car to get it washed. The old housekeeper looked at Zhao Nana in confusion. Miss, didn't you wash the car yesterday? Just wash it when I tell you to. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Zhao Nana was furious at the moment and said impatiently. Okay, miss. The old butler didn't dare to answer and drove away quickly. Zhao Nana returned home with a rage and saw her father Zhao Haichuan and her mother sitting at the table. Nana, where have you been? Why did you come back so late? Have you eaten? As soon as Zhao's mother saw Zhao Nana, she hurried over to ask. Mom, I've eaten. Zhao Nana threw her bag on the sofa, turned around tiredly and went upstairs. All she wanted now was to have a good sleep and a night's rest. She was so tired. Nana, what's wrong with you? Zhao Haichuan asked quickly when he saw that Zhao Nana didn't look well. Nana, are you worried about something? Mother Zhao quickly pulled Zhao Nana and sat down on the sofa. After Zhao Nana's marriage fell through, her mother was most afraid that Zhao Nana would be depressed, so she always paid attention to her daughter's emotions. After all, marriage is a big deal, and no one would be able to bear it if something like this happened to their fiancé. Zhao Nana is their only daughter and has always been the apple of their eyes. She has been a treasure in their hands since she was a child. Nothing? I saw Sun Jigang today. Zhao Nana thought for a moment and concealed what happened with Jiang Huai. What? Sun Jigang came to see you? Did he embarrass you? When Zhao Haichuan and his mother heard this, they immediately became nervous. No, he begged me, but I didn't agree, and in the end I was beaten by a colleague in the company. Oh, it's okay. Mother Zhao patted her chest, still in shock. I'm glad you're okay. I think these poor guys are unreliable. Zhao Haichuan angrily slapped the coffee table with his palm, making a bang sound. Nana, your next date, I will definitely find you someone who is of equal status and knows you well. I have a few old friends, and we can arrange for them to have tea together later. And by the way, see which family has a suitable boy. Yes, I can no longer trust these people. These people at the bottom of society are really scum. Zhao's mother also echoed and said that with Zhao Nana's marriage, Sun Jigang had brought shame to the Zhao family. Now there are still many people secretly laughing at them for finding such a son-in-law. Zhao Nana clenched her hands tightly, feeling guilty and not daring to look up at her parents. She has always been a good child in the eyes of her parents. What would she do if they knew about her and Jiang Huai? Now my parents dislike this kind of grassroots boy the most. They must not be allowed to know about my relationship with Jiang Huai. Jiang Huai has nothing and only makes her angry all day long. If this kind of person gets married in the future, he will be the one who suffers. Bar, who wants to marry him? Chapter 12 Competition in Sales Department. Zhao Nana felt that she had gone astray and quickly returned to reality. She looked at Zhao Haichuan and said, Dad, I want to go to work. What? Zhao's mother immediately stopped him and said, Why do you want to go to work? The family doesn't need your money. No, I want to go to work, not to make money, but to be valuable. I'm already this old, I don't want to be a waste. Zhao Nana said sincerely. Zhao Haichuan looked at his daughter in surprise, then nodded after a few seconds and praised, "My daughter has grown up and become sensible. Okay, since you're willing to exercise, then don't go anywhere else. I'll arrange a position for you in the company, so we can feel more at ease." "Yes." Zhao Nana nodded happily, "then it's settled. Mom and Dad, I'm going upstairs to rest." After saying goodbye to her parents, Zhao Nana returned to her room. As soon as she returned to the room, Zhao Nana felt like her whole body was falling apart, but she still had to take a shower first. Looking in the mirror and seeing the red marks all over her body, Zhao Nana cursed Jiang Huai in her heart from head to toe. Damn Jiang Huai, how can she wear short sleeves to work like this? It looks like she'll have to wear long sleeves for at least another week. Zhao Nana picked up her long-sleeved sweater, looked at it twice, and was about to throw it into the washing machine, but she suddenly thought of something, hesitated for 2 seconds, and threw the sweater into the trash can. The next day, Jiang Huai arrived at the company and started working as usual. After being promoted to manager, I had to go to Director Xie Jing's office every day for a morning meeting. When Jiang Huai walked into Xie Jing's office, there were already 3 people sitting in the office besides Xie Jing. The sales department of Qianxin Group is divided into 4 departments, namely Sales Department 1, 2, 3 and 4. There is a competitive relationship among the 4 departments. Generally speaking, when there is an order, Xie Jing will let the 4 departments negotiate, and whoever has the ability will get the order. This department of JAC is Sales Department 4. Because it was established late, it has the lowest performance among several departments. Needless to say, the 3 men inside are the managers of the other 3 departments. This is Jiang Huai, the new manager of our 4th department. Welcome everyone. Xie Jing looked at the other 3 people and introduced them. Jiang Huai, this is Fan Hao from the 1st department, Manager Fan. This is Liu Jinxian, Manager Liu from Department 2. Department 2 is the best performing department in the entire company. You should learn from them. This is Zhang Ji, Manager Zhang from Department 3. Jiang Huai nodded and greeted several managers. Fan Hao from the 1st department was a serious, slightly fat middle-aged man who didn't talk much. He looked square and well-behaved. He just nodded to Jiang Huai. Liu Jinxiang from the 2nd department is the opposite. He always smiles at everyone he sees. He is about 35 years old, fat, and looks very kind at first glance, making people want to chat with him. "Hi, Jiang Huai, we will be colleagues from now on. I'll need your care in the future," Liu Jinxiang said with a smile. Jiang Huai also smiled and replied, "I dare not, I am a junior, and those sitting here are my seniors." Zhang Ji in the 3rd part is a very young boy, only a few years older than Jiang Huai. He wears a pair of glasses and looks very gentle. But I heard that he graduated from Peking University and Tsinghua University, and is a top student majoring in finance. Zhang Ji smiled and nodded to Jiang Huai. "Okay, let's make it short." After everyone got familiar with each other, Xie Jing started talking. "As my subordinate, I don't care what you did before or what your background is. As long as you come to me, everything is determined by your strength. Sales is a competitive industry. If you have the ability, I don't care what conditions you put forward. If you don't have the ability, I will let you go after 2 days." After Xie Jing finished speaking, she took out some information and distributed it to several people. This is the information of Huayu Group. As everyone knows, Huayu Group is the leading brand in China. Many of its products are well known in China. If Huayu joins our Qianxin, the sales volume of the platform will reach a new level. Xie Jing took a sip of water and said, "But Huayu Group has always been selling offline and taking the physical route, and has not yet entered the online sector. So this month's mission is to take down Huayu Group. You all go down and prepare." As soon as Xie Jing finished speaking, several people in the office immediately looked eager to try. Manager Fan Hao of the 1st department frowned and thought about a solution with a serious face. Liu Jinxiang from the 2nd department smiled and looked like he didn't care. "Oh, this task is a bit difficult. What should we do? Jiang Huai, have you thought of a solution?" Jiang Huai shook his head. Zhang Ji from the 3rd department lowered his head and wrote and drew on paper, but no one knew what he was calculating. Jiang Huai knew from the situation that this mission would not be easy. Huayu Group's products were spread all over the country and it was a leading large company in the country. He had heard of it before. The bigger the company, the greater the challenge and the harder it is to convince them. It is even more difficult to change their original sales model. Okay, this is the mission. Go back and figure out a solution. That's all for today's morning meeting. Xie Jing stood up, and several other managers left the room one after another, but Jiang Huai remained sitting there. Why don't you leave? Xie Jing looked at Jiang Huai strangely. Director Xie. Jiang Huai smiled and poured a glass of water for Xie Jing. I'm new here, please give me some advice. Generally speaking, the sales department's affairs are handled by yourselves. You can cooperate with each other or go alone to discuss. It all depends on your ability. Xie Jing said. You just got here and there are many things you don't understand. You can try to cooperate with them first and see how the negotiation goes. Jiang Huai shook his head. He could see that although the managers didn't say anything on the surface, their actual attitudes were keeping people at a distance. After all, they were competitors, and the worse others were, the better for them. Although several managers didn't say anything on the surface, they were definitely watching him secretly and didn't want to cooperate with him. A newly promoted sales manager who has no background and connections will lose out if he cooperates with JAC. Jiang Huai himself knew that although he had become the manager of the 4th department, if he did not perform well and achieve some results, he would definitely be looked down upon in the company in the future. You may even end up losing your position as a manager. Come on, young man, Xie Jing patted Jiang Huai on the shoulder, I'll give you a reference. Usually, for a somewhat difficult order like this, the 2nd department can complete it in 20 days. You have to keep up the good work. A month's worth of orders can be completed in 20 days. The strength of the 2nd department is indeed remarkable. Jiang Huai frowned, feeling that it was even more difficult under the pressure of the 2nd department. Suddenly, Jiang Huai had an idea. In his previous life, he had not resigned yet and knew that the 4 sales departments were going to negotiate with Huai Group together. In the end, it was indeed the 2nd department that obtained the agency rights for several products of Huai Group. At that time, although the 2nd department only obtained the agency rights for several products, because of the reputation of Huai Group, their Qianxin platform became popular in Xie country. Because of this incident, the 2nd department became a well-known gold medal sales department in the company. However, Jiang Huai clearly remembered that half a year later, Huai Group handed over 80% of their product online sales share to another company called Open Sesame. This company named Open Sesame later became a dark horse in online sales and one of the largest companies in Xiaguo. Dear brothers and sisters, uncles and aunts, please follow me and read this. Thank you very much. Chapter 13 Strategy Chapter Old Man. Thinking of this, Jiang Huai hurried back to the office, turned on the computer, and searched for the information of Huai Group. Jiang Huai, the founder of Huai Group, is 78 years old this year. He retired 5 years ago. His eldest son Zhang Jixin is now the chairman of the company, while his second son Zhang Jicai is in charge of product sales. He also has a younger daughter, Zhang Yuanyuan. Zhang Yuanyuan does not participate in the management of the company. She is now a doctor at Ning City People's Hospital. She is 28 years old and unmarried. Jiang Huai had a daughter in his old age and doted on Zhang Yuanyuan. Jiang Huai remembered that the 2nd department was entered from the direction of Zhang Jicai, who was in charge of the sales of Huai Group. Because the 2nd department manager Liu Jinxiang was eloquent, after his repeated requests, Zhang Jicai agreed to give Qianxin Group a share of several products. The company's current chairman, Zhang Jixin, is also a person who cannot stand fire or water. It is said that he is always accompanied by 7 or 8 bodyguards. It is difficult for ordinary people to get close to him, let alone talk business. Jiang Huai frowned and thought, if that was the case, how did Open Sesame get the agency rights for 80% of Huai Group's online products? In the entire Huai Group, who can decide 80% of the product share? Only the old man. A light bulb went off in Jiang Huai's mind. Only old man Jiang Huai could make such a big decision. Huai Group was founded by him. Now it seems that although he has retired, he has not completely let go. Jiang Huai thought about how to get close to Zhang Huai. At this moment, his cell phone rang with a short alert tone. Jiang Huai picked up his phone and saw that it was a new friend request. Nanabao, I want to add you as a friend. The avatar is a cute chubby little tiger. As soon as he saw that the person was Zhao Nana, Jiang Huai nodded his agreement. Nanabao, Jiang Huai, I'm here to work. Going to work? Jiang Huai was a little surprised. Zhao Nana, a rich second generation who doesn't care about worldly things, would also go to work. Maybe she's just here for fun. Nanabao, Wang Jie, the HR director, asked for leave to go home and have a baby, so my dad arranged a job for me as the HR director. Nanabao, we are colleagues from now on. Jiang Huai, is your hand feeling better? Remember to change the dressing. Nanabao, Jiang Huai, why don't you speak? The world's most handsome man, hum. On the other side, Zhao Nana was sitting in the Human Resources Director's office, feeling very novel. At the same time, she felt very excited and wanted to share the good news with Jiang Huai as soon as possible. After sending several messages in a row, Jiang Huai responded with a hum in the end. Zhao Nana looked at a word on the phone and was stunned for a few seconds before slowly reacting. Jiang Huai is just trying to please her. Zhao Nana is angry. She has always been the one who treats others perfunctorily. When did she ever get treated perfunctorily by others? Jiang Huai, you are annoying, I will never talk to you again. Zhao Nana cursed, and her good mood for the day was gone in an instant. At this time, Jiang Huai had already walked out of the company's gate carrying a backpack. He just saw in the information that Mr. Jiang Huai of Huai Group was particularly fond of playing chess, especially after retirement. He would play chess with a few old men in the community park every day. It was photographed by reporters several times. Half an hour later, Jiang Huai got off the car at the gate of a high-end residential area. This community is located in the center of the wealthy area of Ning City, not far from Zhao Nana's home. There is a large park in the center of the community. The park is full of blooming flowers and shady trees. On the lake, many birds with long necks and thin legs are leisurely foraging for food. By the lake, there are groups of elderly people playing cards and chess. Jiang Huai looked everywhere and saw Jiang Huai mixed in with a group of old men. Although Jiang Huai is 78 years old, he is in good spirits. Wearing a comfortable tang suit, he is playing chess with another old man. Jiang Huai walked over, pretending to be a passerby, and watched with great interest. This move by old man Liu is brilliant. He has become a checkmate straight away. At this time, the old man in yellow clothes opposite Jiang Huai took a step forward, which caused cheers from those around him. The old man in yellow laughed out loud. Old Jiang, let you be arrogant, I will defeat you today. Jiang Huai was not affected by the provocation of the old man in yellow. After frowning and thinking for 2 seconds, he jumped out from the other direction. Why did you make that move? The old man in yellow couldn't understand Jiang Huai's chess move. You have to get out of this situation quickly. If you keep moving like this, you will lose within 5 moves. Jiang Huai smiled and said nonchalantly, continue. Okay, that's what you said. The old man in yellow laughed and moved a chess piece with his hand. Checkmate. Jiang Huai continued to take a step back. General. The old man in yellow looked more and more excited. This time, Jiang Huai jumped a horse. Har har, come again. The old man in yellow pressed forward step by step. At this time, Jiang Huai only said calmly, you lose. The old man in yellow was shocked, impossible. Then he quickly looked down, but was surprised to find that his general had been surrounded by Jiang Huai's chess pieces from another direction. With cannons in front and chariots behind, it had become a dead end. In the previous 3 steps, Jiang Huai had been setting the game, until the 4th step, when he moved the last key pawn, the situation suddenly became clear. Not only the old man in yellow, but even the military advisors who had been giving advice around him, did not notice such a sophisticated move. It wasn't until the last step that I realized it. Everyone couldn't help but give Jiang Huai a thumbs up. Sure enough, the chess master lives up to his reputation. Old man Jiang is still more skilled. Jiang Huai smiled faintly, feeling confident. No, old man Jiang, you are cheating, you are stealing the house. The old man in yellow said angrily, he was clearly about to win, so how come he suddenly lost miserably? Jiang Huai said, all is fair in war, if you are willing to accept defeat, give it to me. The old man in yellow snorted and reluctantly took out a round pebble from his pocket. This pebble was their bet, and Jiang Huai already had a bag of it in his pocket. The group of old people around looked at Jiang Huai's spoils with envy, as if this thing was more valuable than any jewelry. Old Jiang, please let us win. How can we win like this? In that game just now, we didn't figure out how to play this. You will have no friends if you continue like this. Others protested. In fact, with that move just now, you could have won even faster. At this time, Jiang Huai stood behind Jiang Huai and said. Jiang Huai was stunned, turned around and saw a young boy. What do you know? Jiang Huai said indifferently. He had just been complimented by this group of old men, and when he heard an unusual voice, he suddenly felt displeased. Jiang Huai smiled slightly. According to the normal way of playing, it would be over in 2 steps, but you took 5 steps. Hey you hairy boy. Jiang Huai was immediately dissatisfied. Looking at the entire park, he, old man Jiang, was invincible in the park. Now this young man was questioning the chess skills that he had always been proud of. He said unconvincedly. Come on, come here, let me see how you can finish the journey in 2 steps. Chapter 14 Endgame. Several old men nearby immediately made way for Jiang Huai. Jiang Huai stepped forward and quickly arranged the endgame on the chessboard. Then, he stood on Jiang Huai's side and lifted out a rook in the corner. Then, in the second step, he turned the cannon over, not only knocking down the opponent's chess piece, but also counterattacking the opponent. Seeing Jiang Huai's operation, Jiang Huai was stunned. He didn't expect that the car in the corner would be so useful, he had completely forgotten about it. 2 steps, really 2 steps. This young man is pretty good. He really became a checkmate in 2 steps. The people around him cast admiring glances at Jiang Huai. But Jiang Huai was not convinced. Young man, let's play around. Jiang Huai quickly shook his head after hearing this. No, you are the chess master here, how dare I challenge you? What are you afraid of? Sit down quickly. Jiang Huai had already aroused Jiang Huai's competitive spirit. He pulled Jiang Huai to sit opposite him, as if he was afraid that he would run away. Jiang Huai sat opposite Jiang Huai and said modestly, Grandpa, I only learned a little bit when I was in college. Please go easy on me. Hey, don't worry, I will definitely show mercy. Jiang Huai put the chess pieces back into place on the board. He smiled on the surface, but in his heart he was thinking about how to use his special moves to defeat this young man. He believed that Jiang Huai's move just now was indeed unexpected, but it was normal for a child to have such jumping thoughts, it was just luck. He has decades of experience, and he wants to let Jiang Huai know that age is always more valuable. The battle began. Jiang Huai walked first, followed by Jiang Huai. After more than 10 steps, Jiang Huai became the general. How is that possible? This young man is really capable. Old Jiang has met his match today. Young man, I can't believe you are such a great chess player at such a young age. The onlookers were amazed and couldn't help but look at Jiang Huai with new eyes. Jiang Huai smiled and said, That's because you have never seen an AI robot playing chess. When Jiang Huai was in college, one of his hobbies was playing chess. There were special chess playing robots in the university that could judge based on the opponent's tactics and decide if the enemy was stronger than him. So when they were playing chess just now, whenever Jiang Huai couldn't think of a move, he would look at his phone and use the AI robot to help him. Old man Jiang Huai had dominated the park for many years, so he could not stand this. He angrily said, Come again. As a result, Jiang Huai lost again in the second game. The old man was so angry that he blew his beard and glared, totally disbelieving that he would lose again. He then said, Come again. The result is self-evident, Jiang Huai lost again. Jiang Huai smiled and said to Jiang Huai, Old sir, thank you for letting me do this. Snort. Jiang Huai stared at the chessboard without saying a word. These games lasted from the afternoon until 6 in the evening. Jiang Huai looked at the time and stood up and said, I have another endgame here, it's very interesting, would you like to take a look, old sir? After hearing Jiang Huai's words, Jiang Huai immediately became interested, and all the anger he had just felt for losing the game disappeared. What's the endgame? Lay it out for me to see. As an endgame enthusiast, Jiang Huai likes to solve endgames the most. Only he understands the joy of finally solving them after spending so much effort and a sense of accomplishment. Just now, Jiang Huai defeated him easily. Jiang Huai knew that Jiang Huai was also a veteran. I'm going to make a bet with you, old man. Jiang Huai said, If you can solve this endgame, I'll play chess with you for the next week. If you can't solve it, then. Jiang Huai paused, and Jiang Huai rolled his eyes, Then what should we do? Jiang Huai smiled and pointed at Jiang Huai's pocket. Give me all your bets. Jiang Huai quickly covered his pocket like a treasure. No, anything else is fine. But this is not possible. Although these stones are not valuable, they are a symbol of honor to the old man. There's nothing I can do about it. You don't have what I want. Jiang Huai shook his head. I do, I can promise you something. Jiang Huai was eager to know what the endgame would look like, so he quickly agreed. When the people around heard Jiang Huai's words, they all took a deep breath. Maybe the young man in front doesn't know, but they, the old men, know exactly how terrifying Jiang Huai's identity is. How difficult it is to get Jiang Huai's promise. Unexpectedly, Jiang Huai still shook his head. I don't have anything to help you with. As young people, we just have no partners and no money. Since you don't want to, old man, then I'll leave. Wait, you don't have a partner? Jiang Huai heard Jiang Huai talking and quickly asked. You said you don't have a girlfriend. I do have a daughter. After Jiang Huai finished speaking, he looked Jiang Huai up and down. I can introduce you to each other. Although she is a few years older than you, isn't sister-brother relationships popular among you young people now? After Jiang Huai finished speaking, he looked at Jiang Huai eagerly. How is it? Is it okay? After hearing what Jiang Huai said, the old men around laughed. Mr. Jiang, are you using your daughter as a bet again? If Yuan knew about this, she would punish you by not allowing you to play chess for half a month. You'll be so greedy. Jiang Huai smiled and shook his head. His target today was not women, but business. However, Jiang Huai finally nodded. Old man, I don't want to fall in love right now, but since you want to see it, I'll show it to you first. Hurry up, hurry up. Seeing Jiang Huai agreed, Jiang Huai asked quickly. Jiang Huai did not delay, picked up the chess piece, and chose a devilishly difficult endgame. What's this situation? Jiang Huai was immediately attracted when he saw it. Then he frowned and thought deeply. Several old men around who loved playing chess were also attracted. This endgame is a bit difficult. If you're not careful, you'll lose everything. Oh, no, I'm too old. The old men shook their heads. Okay, it's too late today. I'll play chess with the old man at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Jiang Huai finished speaking and left with his backpack. Jiang Huai stared at the chessboard in front of him, without raising his head, just waved his hand, completely attracted by the endgame. Half an hour. 1 hour. 2 hours. It was getting dark, and Jiang Huai was still sitting alone in the park, frowning and thinking, trying hard to think about the endgame. The others had already gone home one after another. The street lights gradually lit up, and after an unknown amount of time, a tall girl in a white suit walked over. She had long black hair that reached her shoulders, and wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. She had a high-nose bridge, deep eye sockets, and looked like a mixed-race girl, and was about 50% similar to Jiang Huai. Dad, why are you still here? Jiang Yuan saw the old man sitting alone at the stone table and walked over to ask. Jiang Huai shook his hand. Don't bother me, give me another half an hour and I will solve it. What? The girl looked at the chessboard in confusion and suddenly felt helpless. Dad, you've been here all day. Be obedient and go home first. Come back tomorrow. After saying that, she pulled old man Jiang away without saying anything. Don't pull me, I'll figure it out soon. Old man Jiang shouted while being pulled. But I couldn't persuade my daughter, so I had to follow her home. Chapter 15 Backstab. The next morning, Jiang Huai slept in, got up slowly, had breakfast, and then took a taxi to the park. When he arrived at the park, it was already 10:30. It is morning now and there are not many people in the park. From a distance, Jiang Huai sees old man Jiang Huai standing beside the stone table and looking around. After seeing Jiang Huai, he hurried to greet him, his eyes eager and enthusiastic. Young man, I've been thinking about it all night and still can't figure it out. How do I solve this problem? Jiang Huai didn't expect that Jiang Huai was so obsessed with chess that he was waiting here early in the morning. Looking at Jiang Huai's appearance, it seemed that he didn't sleep well last night. There was an unfinished chess endgame still on the chessboard. Jiang Huai walked to the stone table and, under the gaze of Jiang Huai, finished the game step by step. Like this? So this is how we go. That's how it is. Jiang Huai saw that Jiang Huai had locked the endgame in more than 10 moves, and he suddenly realized it. He muttered to himself and kept thinking, and finally he couldn't help but give Jiang Huai a thumbs up. Young man, you are truly a chess genius. You have achieved so much at such a young age. I admire you. The moves Jiang Huai made Jiang Huai admire him so much that he looked at Jiang Huai eagerly. Young man, where did you learn this chess skill? Can I become your disciple? Jiang Huai was stunned, then shook his head and laughed. Master Jiang, I am just a young man, how dare I accept you as my disciple? This is not allowed. There's nothing I can't do. You don't want to accept me, do you look down on me? Jiang Huai glared. No, no. Jiang Huai waved his hands quickly, I'm just a chess enthusiast, I'm not an expert. I've thought it over, Jiang Huai said, it's settled. From now on, you teach me chess, and we can call each other brothers. Jiang Huai nodded helplessly, okay. Seeing Jiang Huai nod, Jiang Huai pulled Jiang Huai to sit down at the stone table. Come on, let's play a game. The chessboard was quickly set up, and Jiang Huai asked as he placed his pieces. Little brother, who is your master? Why are you so good at chess? Jiang Huai shook his head, I'm not that good. All the students in my class are at the same level as me. After hearing this, Jiang Huai opened his eyes wide in horror. In his opinion, he is already a leader in the Chinese chess world. Although he is not invincible in the whole country, at least in a certain area, his level is acceptable. But what did Jiang Huai say just now? He was talking about the students of the same class. What is the concept? Seeing old man Jiang's dazed look, Jiang Huai smiled slightly. Our teachers are not people, but machines and computers. Computer. Jiang Huai was shocked. Jiang Huai explained to Jiang Huai. Mr. Jiang, maybe you don't know how terrifying artificial intelligence is now. It's an AI chess robot that can imitate the techniques of countless chess masters and improve its chess skills through imitation. While playing chess with you, it can also integrate your chess routines, and finally find your flaws and beat you. After listening to Jiang Huai's narration, Jiang Huai began to doubt his life. You said this is artificial intelligence. Yes, Mr. Jiang, the times are advancing. People are no longer as self-reliant as they used to be. Smartphones, smart home appliances, smart travel, and even the popular online shopping are all products of the new era. Jiang Huai listened to Jiang Huai's introduction of the differences between modern intelligence and traditional industries, from food, clothing, housing and transportation to major heavy industries. He nodded repeatedly and sighed. Alas, as expected, we are all old and can't keep up with the times. The same principle applies to business. Jiang Huai unknowingly entered the topic. No matter how good your product is, if you don't know how to operate it and just blindly develop it behind closed doors, you will eventually be eliminated by the times within a few years. In the next few years, technology will develop rapidly and competition will become more intense. We are destined to enter a more brutal competition stage. Jiang Huai listened and fell into deep thought. At the same time, downstairs of Chenshin Company, Zhao Nana drove her Mercedes-Benz and stopped downstairs of the company. She drove the car into the garage and walked to the breakfast shop next to it, ready to buy some breakfast to take away. Looking at the hot buns and soy milk, Zhao Nana couldn't help but think of Jiang Huai. It's so early, has he eaten yet? After thinking about it, Zhao Nana simply bought 2 portions and carried the breakfast upstairs. When coming out of the elevator, Zhao Nana deliberately passed by sales department 4, but unexpectedly she didn't see Jiang Huai. Zhao Nana was confused and could only go back to her office. The director's offices are adjacent to each other. When Zhao Nana walked into her office, she saw Xie Jing holding a morning meeting in the office. Still haven't seen Jiang Huai. Zhao Nana took out her phone and wanted to send a message to ask, but when she clicked on the avatar and saw the chat between the two of them yesterday, Zhao Nana suddenly didn't want to say a word. You bastard Jiang Huai, you didn't even tell me where you were going. I'm never going to buy anything for you again. Zhao Nana thought that Jiang Huai was injured yesterday. After all, it was because of her that he was injured, so she didn't bother with him about what happened yesterday. I didn't expect Jiang Huai to be so cold to her. Doesn't he have any feelings for me? Just want to sleep with me? The more Zhao Nana thought about it, the angrier she became, and she threw her breakfast into the trash can. At this time, in the sales director's office, Xie Jing looked at Jiang Huai's empty seat with a sullen face. Where's Jiang Huai? Why didn't he come? The other sales managers looked at each other and shook their heads. After thinking about it, Xie Jing dialed the internal line of sales department 4. Tell Jiang Huai to come to the meeting immediately. It was Wang Chuan on the other end of the phone. After hearing what Xie Jing said, he replied. Director Xie, Manager Jiang is not here. Not here. Xie Jing was stunned. Where did he go? Director Xie doesn't know where Manager Jiang went. Wang Chuan was delighted. He had thought that Jiang Huai was sent on a business trip, but he didn't expect that Jiang Huai was actually absent from work. He didn't expect that Jiang Huai would become so arrogant after becoming the manager and even stopped coming to work. If that's the case, don't blame him for being rude. Thinking of this, Wang Chuan exaggerated and said. Manager Jiang left the company after the morning meeting yesterday and has not come to work until today. He doesn't care about the pile of things in the department. He also said yesterday that after becoming a manager, our entire 4th department will be his world. He can do whatever he wants and no one can control him. As Xie Jing listened, her face became increasingly gloomy. She thought Jiang Huai was a nice guy yesterday, but she was slapped in the face today. In the entire Tianxing, even she, the director, dares not say that her world is hers. Jiang Huai, a newly promoted manager, actually dares to speak so arrogantly. However, as a director, Xie Jing was able to remain calm, as there was no evidence at all. When Jiang Huai comes back, if the situation is true, she will let him go immediately. Okay, I got it. Xie Jing hung up the phone and looked up with a gloomy expression. Since Xie Jing was on speakerphone, the other managers in the office naturally heard what Wang Chuan said on the phone. Several managers looked at each other, their eyes full of smiles. I thought I would meet a strong opponent, but I didn't expect it to be a rookie. Liu Jinxiang from the 2nd department spoke first, not hiding the contempt on his face. Could he have run away in fear after hearing what Director Xie said about the mission yesterday? Could he have secretly peed his pants somewhere? People like this don't deserve to be our colleagues. Director Xie, please fire him up. Chapter 16 Considering our relationship. The third young man wearing glasses, Zhang Ji, also nodded and adjusted his glasses, unable to hide the disdain in his eyes. Anyway, he was promoted to manager yesterday, but is so scared that he's absent from work today. This is the first time. I've heard of people being deducted wages or fired for not getting a project, but I've never heard of anyone being scared away just by hearing about a project. Fan Hao from the first episode had a serious face and said in a loud voice, those who face challenges head on are warriors, those who flee without fighting are cowards. The three managers laughed at the same time. Okay, don't let other people affect your mood, let's continue the meeting. Xie Jing waved her hand and several managers stopped discussing. For the project we talked about yesterday, do you have any direction? Where should we start? Have you come up with a plan? When it comes to this, Fan Hao from the first film sighed. We are still collecting information and consolidating which instant noodles to start with. It may take about 3 days to come up with a plan. Zhang Ji from the third department also shook his head. We are contacting Huayu Group's distributors and are preparing to find a breakthrough there. How can I enter through the dealership? Xie Jing frowned and looked at Zhang Ji. The dealers are already 2nd or 3rd level. What we want is 1st level, products sold directly from the Huayu Group factory. This kind of product has no middlemen and high profits. Yes. Zhang Ji nodded, we'll go back and revise it right away. Xie Jing shook her head and turned to look at the slightly plump Liu Jinxiang. What about your department? Hearing this, Liu Jinxiang smiled confidently. I visited the headquarters of Huayu Group yesterday and met with their vice president Zhang Jicai. We had a very pleasant conversation. From what he said, he can give us the online agency rights for 5 Tianxing products. 5 products? Xie Jing was stunned for a moment, then burst into ecstasy. Okay, I think it's up to your 2nd department to take action. As long as we get the agency rights for these 5 products from Huayu Group, we will be able to gain an edge over our peers in the competition. Xie Jing looked at Liu Jinxiang approvingly. You must keep the deputy general manager Zhang Jicai stable. If you have any needs, just let us know. The company will fully support you. Try to sign the contract as soon as possible to avoid any complications. No rush, Liu Jinxiang said confidently. I'll negotiate again today and try to increase the number of products to 8. If that doesn't work, we can sign 5 more. Okay. Xie Jing couldn't suppress the smile on her face, and turned to look at Fan Hao and Zhang Ji beside her. See? This is called efficiency. It takes you several days to come up with a plan, while you are like a headless fly. Why do they earn $1 million a year? Learn from them. Yes. Fan Hao and Zhang Ji lowered their heads involuntarily. Because of Liu Jinxiang's work, Xie Jing was smiling all the time. Only after the meeting did Xie Jing remember about Jiang Huai. She sighed in her heart and prepared to inform Zhao Nana. After all, she was the one who introduced the person, so she still had to inform her if he was fired. Xie Jing walked out of the office and knocked on the door of the Human Resources Director. Nana. Xie Jing pushed the door open and walked in, only to find that Zhao Nana's eyes were red, as if she had just cried. What's wrong? Nana. Nothing. Zhao Nana turned her head away. Xie Jing sighed and sat next to Zhao Nana. I came here to tell you that Jiang Huai was absent from work yesterday and didn't come today. I called him but no one answered. It's hard for me to do this. I thought young people had potential, but I didn't expect that. Oh no. Xie Jing sighed deeply, the meaning was self-evident. After hearing what Xie Jing said, Zhao Nana bit her lip angrily and said, fire him immediately. It would be best if he was thrown into the ocean over in Siberia to feed the big sharks. This kind of people are so disgusting. After cursing Jiang Huai in her heart, Zhao Nana raised her head and looked at Xie Jing and said, your sales department fires people without asking for reasons. If he suddenly stops coming to work, something must have happened. What if something really happened? Only when you are absent from work for 3 days without reason will you be considered to have automatically resigned. He's only been absent for 1 day. Xie Jing nodded helplessly. Okay, then I'll wait for him to come back and explain it later. Xie Jing left the office with a gloomy look in her eyes. No matter what the reason was, Jiang Huai's dismissal was a foregone conclusion. Now that she had talked to Zhao Nana about it, she could still make the decision about the sales department. In the park, Jiang Huai and old man Zhang were still chatting, and they were getting more and more interested. In fact, the most taboo thing in business is to stand still. If you don't know how to keep up with the trend and don't learn to innovate, you will always end up in a dead end. In the next few years, the economy of the entire Xia country will achieve a leap at the speed of light. Traditional industries will be suppressed, and the new media industry will rise rapidly and occupy the market. Think about it, who would want to go shopping on the street if they can just sit at home and buy things? It not only saves time and effort, but also allows us to save a lot of time to do more meaningful things. After listening to Jiang Huai's words, Zhang Huayu fell into deep thought. Jiang Huai is absolutely right. After thinking for a while, Zhang Huayu looked up at Jiang Huai and said, little brother, are you in the new media industry? Jiang Huai did not hide it and nodded directly. Yes, our company sells online. If I sell the products to you, it won't affect offline sales, right? Of course it doesn't affect us. Jiang Huai said firmly, offline channels have offline channels, and online channels have online customers. This is diversification. If that's the case, then it's easy. Zhang Huayu said excitedly. I've actually been paying attention to this area these days, but I couldn't find a suitable candidate. Today, when you introduced me to this, I suddenly felt enlightened. Little brother, if you don't mind, I can give our company's products to you to operate online. Jiang Huai was stunned and frowned. You always. Zhang Huayu smiled and pointed to a large billboard on the road across from the park. See. My last name is Jiang Huayu Group. Jiang Huai opened his eyes wide in surprise. So you are Mr. Zhang? Zhang Huayu smiled, with a cunning look on his face, as if he had succeeded in pretending to be a pig and eating the tiger. How about it? Although our Huayu Group is a leading enterprise in the entire Ning city, I can leave all the online parts to you. I believe in you, little brother. After Jiang Huai was surprised, he turned sad. Mr. Zhang, it's like this. Our company is very strict in selecting products. As you know, many companies are scrambling to go online. In your case, I may have to report it to the company. What? I still have a lot of competitors. Zhang Huayu's eyes widened, and he suddenly became anxious. For the sake of our relationship, you have to deal with me first. You should discuss it with the company. We have so many Huayu products that any one of them can beat them. If it doesn't work, I can put all the products on your website and let you operate them. Is that okay? Please read and collect it. R. Chapter 17 Big Star. Jiang Huai looked very embarrassed, and finally nodded reluctantly. Okay, I'll try my best to help you. How about this? It's too late today. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, I will prepare the letter of intent for cooperation and all you have to do is sign it. Okay, I'm confident that you can do the job. Jiang Huai praised Jiang Huai repeatedly and did not forget to give him instructions before leaving. You must remember my story. When Jiang Huai left the park, it was already past 3 in the afternoon. It was too late to go back to the company, so Jiang Huai went straight home. Only when they were in the car did Jiang Huai have time to take out his cell phone from his pocket. In order to avoid interrupting his conversation with Jiang Huai, Jiang Huai turned his phone to silent mode when he went out today. I took out my cell phone and saw several missed calls. There was a call that came in several times in a row, and it was from Cao Qingcheng, who was sitting next to Jiang Huai before. The other one was Xie Jing, who called around 10 o'clock in the morning, probably during the morning meeting. Zhao Nana, whose number ends with 4 8s, also called 3 times, this morning, at noon, and an hour ago. As for Xie Jing, Jiang Huai plans to explain to her tomorrow after getting Huayu's letter of intent. Jiang Huai didn't want to make all the details public before the mission was completed. Jiang Huai then opened WeChat and saw at first glance that Zhao Nana had sent him 2 angry emoticons. Jiang Huai shook his fingers and typed a few words on the screen. What's up? On the other end of the phone, Zhao Nana's phone suddenly rang. Zhao Nana was delighted to see Jiang Huai's message. However, Zhao Nana instantly suppressed the smile on her lips, frowned and snorted coldly. She waited from yesterday until today, and now that today is almost over, Jiang Huai just remembered to contact her. We must not let him off easily this time. On Jiang Huai's side, he saw a message appear on Zhao Nana's WeChat profile picture. The other party is typing. But after waiting for more than 10 seconds, the string of words disappeared and no information was sent from the other side. Just when Jiang Huai was getting impatient and was about to close the chat box, Zhao Nana finally sent a message. Nanabao, don't you have anything you want to tell me? Jiang Huai was confused. What could he say? I work hard all day to deal with old man Zhang, so I don't have that much free time. Jiang Huai said unhappily, it's alright, forget it. After replying the message, Jiang Huai turned the phone back and opened Cao Qingcheng's profile picture. What's wrong? So many phone calls. Just a few seconds after the message was sent, Cao Qingcheng called on WeChat. After Jiang Huai was connected, Cao Qingcheng's voice came over. Jiang Huai, where have you been these 2 days? Why didn't you come to the company? Didn't I go to discuss business? What's wrong? Is there anything going on in the company? There's nothing going on in the company. It's just that you haven't been here these few days, and that Wang Chuan has been spreading bad things about you in the company. Cao Qingcheng lowered his voice, fearing that others would hear him. He has been deliberately showing off in front of the managers of various departments and Director Xie, proving that he is better than you, and he has also spread all kinds of rumors about you, so you should be careful. Now Director Xie has learned about your situation and said that he will deal with it seriously. Oh. Jiang Huai sneered. He had always felt that Wang Chuan was an ungrateful person who could never be tamed. Okay, let us play it this way, right? Don't blame me for being rude. I'll teach you a lesson when I come back. I'm fine, don't worry, as long as nothing serious happens to the 4 parts, it'll be fine. After exchanging a few words with Cao Qingcheng, Jiang Huai hung up the phone. Without caring about these trivial matters, Jiang Huai got off the car at the door of his house. He first found a place to prepare all the materials needed to sign the letter of intent tomorrow. In fact, these materials have always been well preserved and can be taken out at any time. Just to whet Jiang Huai's appetite, Jiang Huai still followed the original pace. Sign a letter of intent first, and then sign a cooperation contract after both parties confirm it. Generally speaking, once a letter of intent is signed, the possibility of cooperation is already 80%. Huayu Group's headquarters is in the center of Ning City. The next morning, when Jiang Huai arrived at the headquarters of Huayu Group, he felt a little dizzy looking at the towering skyscrapers. This building looks much more upscale than their Qiansheng. Jiang Huai was standing in the lobby with a bag on his back, looking for which elevator to take. Hello, who are you looking for? Seeing that Jiang Huai was still hesitating, one of the receptionists in the hall came up and asked, "I'm looking for Jiang Huai. We made an appointment." Jiang Huai nodded to the receptionist and replied. The receptionist was startled, then she bowed her head slightly and said respectfully, "You must be Mr. Jiang, please take the elevator this way and go up to the 35th floor." It seemed that old man John had already said hello to everyone downstairs. The receptionist took Jiang Huai to a special elevator and pressed a button before leaving. Jiang Huai waited for a while and the elevator came down quickly. At this moment, a large group of people suddenly rushed into the hall from outside the door. Some of these people were holding mobile phones, some were holding cameras and microphones, and some were shouting and screaming excitedly as if they were injected with chicken blood. Wen Ting, I love you, please look at me." "She looked at me. Did you see that? She looked at me just now. I'm going to die. Wen Ting, I finally see you, you are my goddess. Wen Ting, my wife, you are the white moonlight that I will protect for the rest of my life." For a moment, the whole hall was in an uproar, and the security guards who were originally maintaining order in the hall were squeezed to who knows where. Looking through the crowd, Jiang Huai saw a slender figure in a red dress walking towards him in the huge crowd. Around the girl, more than a dozen sturdy men in black clothes and sunglasses formed a human wall to keep the crazy fans out. Wen Ting is the most popular top-tier actress in Xie country. With her explosive acting skills, she has starred in several hit TV series and later released several albums. Now we are preparing to expand internationally. Nowadays, Wen Ting can be seen in various magazines and news in Xie country, so Jiang Huai certainly knows her. But Jiang Huai is not a fan, and in most cases he just glances at the messages he sees. At this moment, the elevator door opened just as Jiang Huai was about to enter the elevator. Suddenly, a bodyguard in black stepped forward in front of Wen Ting and pulled Jiang Huai out as he was about to enter the elevator. Grass! Jiang Huai cursed, and was immediately swept 5 meters away by the surging crowd. Then he saw a group of bodyguards escorting Wen Ting into the elevator. When walking past, Wen Ting glanced at Jiang Huai's face indifferently. There was no apology in her eyes, only a kind of superior indifference and alienation. The elevator door slowly closed, and the fans, reporters, and self-media bloggers in the hall quickly evacuated the hall after Wen Ting left. Jiang Huai had no choice but to wait for the elevator to come down again. The crowd dispersed, and the girl at the front desk noticed that Jiang Huai was still there. Then he quickly ran over and apologized to Jiang Huai. "I'm really sorry, Mr. Jiang. Miss Wen has always been our Huayu's endorsement star. We invite her to be the spokesperson every year. These few days happen to be her time to film, so I'm sorry, I'll take you upstairs right now." Chapter 18. The order was stolen. "It's okay, it's not your fault, you don't have to apologize." Jiang Huai said nonchalantly, "I'll go up by myself." "Thank you. If you have any questions, please contact me directly." The girl at the front desk was very polite and sent Jiang Huai to the elevator before leaving. Jiang Huai stood in the elevator and smelled a faint fragrance that was refreshing. As I walked out of the elevator, I saw old man John standing at the door of a large office. "Little brother, you are finally here, I have been waiting for you for a long time." Jiang Huai led Jiang Huai inside with a smile. When he went back home last night, Jiang Huai specially investigated Jiang Huai's company. After finding out that Jiang Huai did not lie, he trusted Jiang Huai even more. After a few pleasantries, Jiang Huai took out a stack of information. "Mr. Zhang, this is a letter of intent for cooperation. All the terms are in it. Please take a look." Jiang Huai picked up a thick stack of information and waved his hand nonchalantly. "I trust you with all this. I have no problem signing this letter of intent. When you come to sign the contract, just sign it directly with my son. He is in charge of the company now. I am old, but I have already said hello, and everything is with him. Thank you for your trust, Mr. Zhang. I will definitely not let you down." After Jiang Huai signed the letter of intent, he made a promise to Jiang Huai. "It's great to be young." Jiang Huai patted Jiang Huai on the shoulder. Jiang Huai walked out of the office with the signed letter of intent. When passing through the corridor, he saw a large room on the other side where the celebrity Wen Ting was taking photos. "This is upstairs. Those noisy people just now haven't come up. It's safe here. The door is open and no one is watching. I have to say that Wen Ting is worthy of being a top-tier star, and her figure is naturally impeccable. A red ribbon goes from the back shoulder to the front chest, wraps around the slender waist, and then extends from the back, just covering the triangle area below. She was wrapped in a silk ribbon and was completely naked. Under the spotlight, she looks sexy and charming, with skin so white that it seems to be glowing. A beauty on earth. This word flashed through Jiang Huai's mind. After taking a quick glance, he took the elevator downstairs, took a taxi, and went back to Tianxin. At this time, in Tianxin Company, Xie Jing was holding a morning meeting. When she saw that the seat where Jiang Huai was sitting was still empty, Xie Jing's face darkened. What's going on? Jiang Huai hasn't come yet. The other three managers were sitting in their seats and shook their heads when they heard this. Where are the people from the 4 divisions? Go and call one over. Liu Jinxiang from the 2nd department said, I'll go and call them. After Liu Jinxiang finished speaking, he walked out the door and went to sales department for downstairs. Manager Liu, why are you here? Wang Chuan was sitting right next to the office door. As soon as he saw Wang Chuan, he came forward. Where is your manager Jiang Huai? Why didn't he come? Don't any of you know? Liu Jinxiang asked with a frown. Wang Chuan looked around and saw staff from the 4th department everywhere, so he quickly pulled Liu Jinxiang outside. Manager Liu, our manager Jiang Huai has been absent from work for the 3rd day. What did the higher-ups say? Liu Jinxiang shook his head. Not so good. Director Xie is angry. Under the current circumstances, even if Jiang Huai came to apologize, it would probably be useless. Wang Chuan was delighted when he heard this, and he quickly asked, then, what will be the punishment? Liu Jinxiang pondered for a moment and said, as far as I know, in this case, Jiang Huai will be demoted at best, or fired at worst. Wang Chuan had already anticipated this result, but when he heard Liu Jinxiang say it, he still felt ecstatic. God is really helping me. Wang Chuan quickly pulled Liu Jinxiang aside. Manager Liu, you know that in our 4th department, Jiang Huai is nothing. In terms of seniority and ability, he is not as good as me. Wang Chuan looked at Liu Jinxiang and continued. If Jiang Huai leaves, I hope Manager Liu can say a few good words for me in front of Director Xie. Hearing Wang Chuan say this, Liu Jinxiang frowned unhappily. Manager promotion is Director Xie's business, we can't interfere. I know. Wang Chuan said quickly, as long as Manager Liu is willing to say a few good words to me, when I become the manager of the 4th department, all the big orders completed by our 4th department in the first 3 months will be given to you. What do you think? After hearing Wang Chuan's words, Liu Jinxiang's eyes lit up. After thinking for a few seconds, he said helplessly, okay, but our words don't count in front of Director Xie. She still makes the decision. It's okay. As long as Manager Liu says a word, the rest depends on Director Xie's mood. After the two reached an agreement, they walked into Xie Jing's office one after another. Xie Jing saw Wang Chuan and nodded. What happened to Jiang Huai from your 4th department? Has no one contacted him? Wang Chuan shook his head helplessly. Director Xie, it's not that we don't want to contact each other, it's that we can't get through to Manager Jiang's phone. During the time he was away, I called him more than once, but the phone was either turned off or no one answered. Alas! At this time, Liu Jinxiang shook his head and sighed. This Jiang Huai left without even saying hello. When I went to the 4th department just now, Wang Chuan was in charge of the office and cleaned up Jiang Huai's mess. Otherwise, I don't know what a mess the 4th department would be in. Thank you, Manager Liu. This is what I should do. Wang Chuan replied quickly. There is no news from Jiang Huai. It's not a solution for the 4 departments to keep going like this. Xie Jing frowned in distress. How about this? She thought for a few seconds. Wang Chuan, before Jiang Huai comes, you can temporarily take over Jiang Huai's position and handle his affairs. As for the rest, we can wait until he comes back. Yes, I will try my best to complete the task. Wang Chuan was ecstatic and stood up excitedly to express his gratitude repeatedly. Okay, sit down and let's have a meeting together. Okay. Wang Chuan sat down excitedly. There were only 4 seats in the office besides Xie Jing, so Wang Chuan naturally sat in the seat where Jiang Huai had sat before. He had longed for this position for a long time, and today he finally sat on it openly. Let's continue discussing yesterday's mission. Xie Jing took a look at the materials in her hand. What progress have you 3 made over at Huayu? Fan Hao nodded righteously. The plan will be out this afternoon. Zhang Ji from Department 3 shook his head. After being rejected by Xie Jing yesterday, they still haven't found the direction. Xie Jing looked helpless, frowned and shook her head. Then she looked up and said, since you two can't do it, then from now on you should fully cooperate with the work of the second department and get Huayu's order. After Xie Jing finished speaking, she looked at Liu Jinxiang with a smile. Just keep Zhang Jitsai stable over there. If you have any instructions, just tell them in the departments. At this time, hearing Xie Jing's words, Liu Jinxiang lowered his head, not daring to look into Xie Jing's eyes, and said with a face full of shame. Thank you. Thank you, Director. I haven't had time to tell you that Huayu's order is gone. What? Xie Jing was stunned. With a ding-dong sound, the pen in her hand fell to the ground. She stared at Liu Jinxiang in disbelief. What did you say? What do you mean the list is gone? Liu Jinxiang looked up and said helplessly. It was last night that Zhang Jitsai called me, and I thought he was talking about cooperation. Unexpectedly, he said he wanted to cancel the cooperation, saying that Huayu had handed over all its products to another company to operate. Xie Jing seemed to have lost her soul. She sat down on the chair and her face gradually turned pale. Brothers, within 10 chapters, Jiang Huai will overthrow Wen Ting. Collect it, read it, and vote for it. Chapter 19, Slap in the Face. After a long pause, Xie Jing straightened up and asked, have you heard which company it is? Liu Jinxiang lowered his head, his face full of anger. The other party didn't say anything. I will go to investigate later. In Ning City, there are only a few of our peers. We will find out eventually. Liu Jinxiang gritted his teeth and clenched his fists, determined not to let him find out who it was. Without any news from Huayu, Xie Jing felt as if her soul had been sucked out of her and she lost her goal for a moment. Huayu was her first step to enhance Tianqing's reputation, but now, nothing is left. Liu Jinxiang from the second department is her most trusted subordinate. He is usually very capable, but she cannot scold him. The atmosphere in the office was eerily quiet for a moment. You could hear a pin drop, and no one dared to speak. Time passed slowly, and after an unknown amount of time, a figure appeared at the office door. Hey, is everyone in a meeting? Jiang Huai rushed back from Huayu after signing the letter of intent. Unexpectedly, he ran into Xie Jing, who was still in a morning meeting. Your meeting is taking a bit too long. It'll be lunchtime soon. As soon as Xie Jing saw Jiang Huai, she became furious and her already irritable mood became even more irritable. Jiang Huai, do you still know that there is a class going on? Before Xie Jing could say anything, Liu Jinxiang from the second department said, if you don't know, you might think the company is owned by your family. You can come if you want to, and you don't have to come if you don't want to. Hearing Liu Jinxiang's sarcastic words, Jiang Huai's face turned cold. During the last meeting, although several managers looked down on each other in their hearts, they still smiled on the surface. Now they don't even bother to hide it. Whether I want to come to work or not is none of your business. Jiang Huai sneered and walked to his seat, only to find Wang Chuan sitting in his chair. Do you know whose seat this is? Who allowed you to sit here? Jiang Huai said coldly. I'll give you 3 seconds to get out of here, or I'll be rude to you. Unexpectedly, Wang Chuan glanced at Jiang Huai without moving his butt. You violated company regulations and were absent from work for 3 days without reason. You should have been fired. But you still want to be a manager. What the hell are you thinking? Why don't you pack up and get out now? After Wang Chuan finished speaking, he looked smug and snorted with disdain. Okay. Jiang Huai nodded and looked at the managers around him. As expected, they all looked at him coldly and had no intention of intervening at all. Finally, Jiang Huai looked at Xie Jing. Is this what you mean? Xie Jing was troubled by Huayu's order just now. She rubbed her brows in pain. Where have you been these days? Don't worry about me for now. Tell me first, what does Wang Chuan mean by sitting here? Jiang Huai stared at Xie Jing, suppressing the anger that was about to explode. Xie Jing sighed, you were not here, and you left without even saying goodbye. There are so many things to do in the 4th department, and I just asked him to act as the deputy for a while. Jiang Huai nodded, okay, now that I'm back, tell him to get out immediately. Xie Jing looked at Jiang Huai helplessly. If it weren't for Zhao Nana, Jiang Huai would have been thrown out by how long ago. Jiang Huai, don't be so angry. Heh, I worked so hard outside to run orders for the company, but you guys are stabbing me in the back and even selected a backup person. Jiang Huai sneered, in that case, why you doesn't want this order? Jiang Huai took out the letter of intent he had just signed with Jiang Huai from his bag and prepared to throw it into the trash can. There was a thick stack of signed letters of intent, etc. Seeing Jiang Huai's actions, Xie Jing was suddenly stunned. Which order are you talking about? Huayu, I got the online operating rights for all of Huayu's products. This is the letter of intent, Jiang Huai said unhappily. The office suddenly became quiet. For a moment, everyone's faces were filled with shock. Xie Jing stood up suddenly, and the chair behind her fell to the ground with a bang, but she didn't care at all. She walked quickly to Jiang Huai's side, took the letter of intent, and saw a red seal on the signature area, indicating that it was indeed Huayu Group. Moreover, this letter of intent is for all the products of Huayu Group, all of them. You know, Huayu Group has hundreds of products of all sizes, which is equivalent to Qianxing directly obtaining Huayu's entire online agency. In comparison, what are Liu Jinxiang's previous 5 products? What are they? It's drizzling. Hoo. Xie Jing's chest was heaving violently due to excitement. She held the letter of intent tightly in her hand and took a long time to look up at Jiang Huai. This time, the sharpness in his eyes disappeared, replaced by admiration for Jiang Huai and uncontrollable excitement. I didn't expect that the person Liu Jinxiang mentioned who stole his order was actually you. After a long pause, Xie Jing finally said this. Robbed. I didn't steal anyone's orders. I just went out to work for a few days in a row. Jiang Huai said truthfully, but I didn't expect that when I was working hard for the company, you would actually. No, nothing. Xie Jing quickly interrupted Jiang Huai, then turned to look at Wang Chuan. Get out. Wang Chuan's expression was frozen on his face and he clenched his fists secretly. He laughed dryly. Director Xie, didn't you just say? What did you say just now? Xie Jing's voice turned cold. When Wang Chuan saw Xie Jing's eyes, he immediately lowered his head. After a few seconds, under the pressure from Xie Jing, he reluctantly stood up. It was all a misunderstanding before. We didn't do anything to you. If there is any misunderstanding, I am here to help you. Xie Jing smiled and guided Jiang Huai to sit on the chair. But Jiang Huai just stared at the chair, his body as still as a mountain. I'm a germaphobe. I find things that other people have sat on dirty. Xie Jing was stunned and her expression froze. Jiang Huai was obviously criticizing Wang Chuan for sitting on his chair just now, and at the same time, he was not giving her face. But Xie Jing returned to normal in the blink of an eye. There was no way. Jiang Huai really signed all of Huayu's orders. This was the largest order their entire sales department had ever received since the establishment of Qianxing Group. Moreover, as the sales director, her income will also increase significantly because of this big order. She turned around and saw Wang Chuan just approaching the door, so she ordered. Wang Chuan, go over there and bring another chair over for Jiang Huai. Wang Chuan's back froze. He gritted his teeth secretly, but didn't dare to get angry again. He could only lower his head and agree, yes. In less than 5 minutes, Wang Chuan brought a chair and replaced the chair that Jiang Huai had been sitting on before. Only then did Jiang Huai sit down. Xie Jing finally breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, the other 3 managers in the office still couldn't believe it when they saw the letter of intent signed by Jiang Huai. But they no longer dared to take Jiang Huai lightly, and their previous disdain and indifference were gone. After hesitating for a few seconds, Zhang Ji finally asked curiously. Jiang Huai, how did you sign the order? Can you share your experience with us? There is no secret, just be attentive. Jiang Huai answered indifferently. He was not a fool, so why should he pass on his experience to these people? Besides, he remembered clearly that these people were ready to laugh at him just now. Fan Hao of the first department thought for a long time, and finally nodded to Jiang Huai. You are such a talent. Liu Jinxiang said nothing, but the sour expression on his face confirmed everything. Especially when Xie Jing looked at Jiang Huai, her eyes seemed to be able to draw threads. Liu Jinxiang gritted his teeth secretly. In the past, Xie Jing's attitude was directed at him. And now, Jiang Huai not only snatched the order from him, but also won the respect of Xie Jing. Liu Jinxiang remained silent, and the pen in his hand broke into 2 pieces. Chapter 20. Do you miss me? No. No, you do. The boring meeting ended quickly. Jiang Huai came out of Xie Jing's office and did not go back to the fourth department. Instead, he walked to the other side of the director's office. Jiang Huai looked at the words, HR Director, on the office door and raised his hand to knock on the door. Hey, who are you looking for? Suddenly, a voice sounded from behind Jiang Huai. Jiang Huai turned around and saw a female employee in work clothes standing behind him, who looked like a clerk. Who are you? Jiang Huai asked doubtfully. I'm Director Zhao's secretary, the female employee replied proudly. Secretary. Jiang Huai was stunned for a moment, then he understood. Zhao Haichuan definitely didn't want his daughter to be so tired, so he specially assigned a secretary to his daughter. If you have anything to say, just tell me directly. There's no need to bother Director Zhao. Our Director Zhao is not someone you can see whenever you want. The secretary's attitude towards Jiang Huai was a bit bad. Because, ever since Zhao Nana started working here, boys from all over the company often come up to her and chat with her under various pretexts. Especially after knowing that Zhao Nana was single again, those men came more frequently. They dressed up nicely, all hoping to meet Zhao Nana and create some opportunities for encounter, hoping to win the favor of the goddess. The female secretary has no idea how many people like this she has met in the past 2 days. Although Zhao Nana didn't see any of them, she was so annoyed that it affected her normal work. And now, when she saw Jiang Huai, she naturally thought that Jiang Huai was the same as other suitors. What was different from others was that while others dressed up, Jiang Huai just wore ordinary clothes, looking as if he had just rushed back from outside, exhausted. Facing the female secretary's disdain, Jiang Huai was very impatient. Go tell Zhao Nana that I'll only give her 2 minutes, and then I'll leave. The female secretary looked at Jiang Huai suspiciously and sneered disdainfully. Director Zhao doesn't. 1.5 minutes left. Jiang Huai interrupted the female secretary's next words. The female secretary was stunned, intimidated by Jiang Huai's aura. She looked at Jiang Huai again, then reluctantly opened the door and walked in. In less than 30 seconds, the female secretary came out. This time he lost all his arrogance and bowed his head slightly. Director Zhao told you to come in. Jiang Huai didn't bother with her and walked straight into the office. With a click, he locked the door. Zhao Nana was sitting behind a large desk. Today she was wearing a pure white long dress, with her long wavy hair draped softly over her shoulders. From a distance, she looked like a lily blooming in the valley. Seeing Jiang Huai coming in, Zhao Nana snorted, turned sideways and turned her face to the window. Jiang Huai looked around the room. This office was about the same size as Xie Jing's. In addition to the desk that was large enough for 2 people to lie down on, there was a set of sofas in the middle. What's different from Xie Jing's place is that there are many more green plants here, and there are also some cute dolls on the table and bookshelf. Zhao Nana turned her head stubbornly, turning her body proudly without even looking at Jiang Huai. Jiang Huai walked behind the desk, lowered his head to look at the white and tender neck, leaned close to Zhao Nana's ear and whispered. Don't want to see me. In no mood. Zhao Nana pouted and was angry. If you don't want to see me, I'm leaving. Jiang Huai stood up and walked towards the door. Hearing the sound of Jiang Huai's footsteps leaving, Zhao Nana remained motionless. Then, she heard the door opening. Then, the office fell into silence. No way. Really leaving? Zhao Nana stared out the window, tears gradually forming in her eyes. Then she turned around and looked at the empty office. She felt as if something in her heart was hollowed out, and a huge feeling of sadness welled up from inside. Puff! A chuckle suddenly came from behind. Zhao Nana turned her head suddenly and saw Jiang Huai standing behind her, looking at her with a smile. You're annoying. Zhao Nana was stunned, and then tears rolled down her cheeks. Jiang Huai took the opportunity to step forward and embrace the beauty in his arms. You hate me, you hate me, you hate me. Zhao Nana pounded Jiang Huai's chest with her little fists and cried even more sadly. Jiang Huai put his arm around her slender waist and gently lifted Zhao Nana up, and she sat on the desk. Missed me. Jiang Huai buried his head in the deep ravine. In no mood. Zhao Nana sobbed but remained stubborn. Let me see if you want to. The buttons of the white dress fell off. Crash. A pot of green plants on the desk fell to the ground and broke into pieces. Jiang Huai. Zhao Nana quickly stopped Jiang Huai's big hand and said anxiously, "This is the office." I locked the door. Jiang Huai's hands and head were busy with their own things, without stopping for a moment. With Jiang Huai's gentle plucking, twisting, wiping and picking, the big strings soon became as noisy as heavy rain. Knock knock. At this moment, someone knocked on the office door from outside. "Wait, someone is knocking on the door," Zhao Nana said in horror. Jiang Huai pressed her down with one hand. "I said, I locked the door. Unless you have the key, you can't open it." But then, they heard the sound of a key turning in the key. Jiang Huai was really panicking now. He stared at Zhao Nana and asked, "Who else has your key?" Zhao Nana's eyes were equally horrified. "My dad." "Fuck." Jiang Huai immediately turned over and quickly put the skirt on Zhao Nana, then picked up the equipment scattered on the ground at lightning speed. In a panic, he could only crawl into the empty space under the desk. Zhao Nana had just tidied her clothes and walked to the chair to sit down when the office door was opened. "Dad." Zhao Nana put on an awkward smile. "Why are you here?" "I came to see you." "I haven't come to see you since I came here for a few days." "How are you? Are you used to it?" Then, Zhao Haichuan saw the mess in the office and frowned unhappily. "Why is it so messy here? Where's Xiaoxia? How does she do things? She can't even do such a simple thing." Xia Qing is the female employee that Jiang Huai met outside the door just now. She is the secretary specially assigned to Zhao Nana by Zhao Haichuan. Zhao Nana quickly explained. "Dad, I just accidentally knocked this over. Don't blame Xia Qing. I am very satisfied with her work." "Okay," Zhao Haichuan said nothing when he saw Zhao Nana's persistence. He looked around the office and said, "What else do you need? I'll make it up for you." "No more, I think it's enough." Zhao Nana wanted Zhao Haichuan to leave quickly, fearing that Jiang Huai would be exposed if he stayed there for too long. However, Zhao Haichuan had no intention of leaving and just sat down on the sofa. Then he asked kindly, "How do you feel about going to work? Are you used to it? Has anyone bullied you?" Zhao Nana laughed awkwardly. "I'm used to it. I think it's pretty good here. Who dares to bully me?" "Dad, aren't you busy?" Jiang Huai is 1.88 meters tall and feels very uncomfortable being squeezed in the narrow space. About 20 centimeters in front of my eyes, there are two smooth little feet with well-proportioned flesh and bones, and the crystal clear toes are like exquisite gems. Jiang Huai simply grabbed one and started playing with it. Sensing the movement under her feet, Zhao Nana gently kicked Jiang Huai. Jiang Huai looked up, her pure white skirt covered her knees. The situation just now was urgent. If Jiang Huai guessed correctly, there should be a gap under the white skirt. Then, Jiang Huai put his hands on his knees and pulled them to both sides. The tiger roars, add it to your collection, read it later, don't support it, vote for it. Chapter 21 Cow Dung and Flowers. Hiss. Zhao Nana suddenly gasped. "Nana, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling unwell?" Zhao Haichuan frowned, feeling something was wrong, and looked at Zhao Nana's face carefully. "Nothing, Dad, I just had spicy food for breakfast today and now my stomach feels a little uncomfortable." Zhao Nana breathed a sigh of relief, and then her whole body tensed up. She felt something foreign had entered her body. "Even if you are at work, you should pay attention to your health and not work too hard," Zhao Haichuan said earnestly, then smiled slightly. "Xie Jing called me just now and said that the sales department had received an unprecedented large order. I came over to take a look. It was a manager who had just been promoted in the sales department, named Jiang Huai. I heard that he just graduated. I didn't expect that this guy is quite good. He was just promoted to the manager position and gave us a big surprise. Now the board of directors knows about this. I just went to the fourth sales department, but I didn't see him. Do you know this person?" Zhao Nana bit her lower lip tightly, her back slightly bent due to nervousness, and shook her head. "I don't know him." After hearing what Zhao Nana said, Zhao Haichuan nodded slightly. "It's better not to know them. None of these young people are good." As Zhao Haichuan spoke, he thought of Sun Zhigang, who had been a psychological shadow for him for the rest of his life. His daughter has been carefully cared for by him since she was a child. She is like a little white flower in a greenhouse. He just wants his daughter to live a safe and smooth life. Zhao Haichuan knew very well that his daughter could not control a man who was too capable. Well, okay, Dad, if you're okay, let's go. I still have a lot of things to do. Zhao Nana couldn't help but tremble slightly and could only urge Zhao Haichuan. Don't we have Xia Qing? How busy can it be? Zhao Haichuan said, don't tire yourself out. Xia Qing is just a secretary and can't replace me. Zhao Nana kicked Jiang Huai weakly with her legs. I still have to do a lot of things myself. Dad, now that I'm here, I want to work hard and realize my own value. Can you please not interfere with my work? Zhao Haichuan nodded slightly, finally stood up and sighed. Oh, my daughter has grown up and wants to be independent and disobedient. When they reached the door, Zhao Haichuan turned back and reminded them, Nana, remember, if you suffer any grievances in the company, you must tell your father. Mom and Dad will always be your strong support. Okay, Dad. Thanks, Dad. Finally, Zhao Haichuan pushed the door open and walked out. Then, her territory was completely conquered. Jiang Huai, don't. Zhao Nana blushed and bit her lip, her voice as thin as a mosquito. Jiang Huai stood up, picked up Zhao Nana with one hand, and threw her on the sofa in the middle of the office. The towering hill trembled as the body touched the sofa. Jiang Huai checked the door again, and after making sure it was locked, he came back and got straight to the point. Half an hour later. Zhao Nana then asked, so you've been talking to clients these days? Then why didn't you tell me anything? You hurt me. I was worried and scared, thinking something unexpected had happened. I couldn't eat or sleep here every day. Zhao Nana thought about it in her heart, but she couldn't say the words of longing. Jiang Huai turned Zhao Nana over, let her lie on the desk, and gently lifted her buttocks up. I was just promoted to manager, and my position is not yet secure. There are many competitors in the company, so I need to be more low-key and not be too ostentatious before things are accomplished. Zhao Nana hummed. Dad just praised you. Dad is always harsh in the company. Over the years, there are very few people in the company who can get such praise from Dad. I have never heard of him going to his subordinates to praise himself. You are the first one. You are amazing. Zhao Nana looked shy when she talked about Jiang Huai. Although she didn't want to admit it, even though Jiang Huai was annoying, she couldn't cover up his brilliance. Jiang Huai slapped the plum peach. What's so great about it? Zhao Nana bit her lip and said nothing. Jiang Huai clapped again. Zhao Nana had no choice but to answer. They are all amazing. Jiang Huai was finally satisfied and rubbed the red area. An hour later, Xia Qing was called into the office by Zhao Nana. Xia Qing looked at the mess on the floor in astonishment, suspecting that she had walked into the wrong room. There were scattered documents all over the floor, and the sofa and desk had been moved. Jiang Huai was half lying on the sofa lazily, looking like he was out of ammunition and food. Zhao Nana, on the other hand, sat on another chair in front of the window, her back straight, maintaining her ladylike image. But her high-quality white skirt had several threads coming apart. Xia Qing took a few seconds to realize what had happened, then glared at Jiang Huai fiercely. This look was as if the cabbages that one had worked so hard to grow were suddenly eaten by a wild boar. These days, Xia Qing blocked countless romantic opportunities for Zhao Nana, but unexpectedly, she was eaten by Jiang Huai in the blink of an eye. Xia Qing cleaned the house silently without saying a word, but glared at Jiang Huai from time to time. Don't tell my dad. Zhao Nana said to Xia Qing. Yes. Xia Qing lowered her head. This was someone else's private matter. She was very smart and knew what to do and say to keep her job. But she glared at Jiang Huai fiercely again. Humph, what a pity, a flower is stuck in cow dung. Jiang Huai raised his eyelids slightly. You actually called her cow dung in front of your boss. I'll deduct your salary tomorrow. Xia Qing was excited. I didn't say Mr. Zhao, I said you are cow dung. Jiang Huai rolled his eyes. Then what are you talking about, flowers planted in cow dung? At this point, Zhao Nana couldn't hold it in any longer. She felt annoyed, angry, and embarrassed. Jiang Huai. It wasn't me. Jiang Huai pointed at Xia Qing with an innocent look on his face. She said that. Zhao Nana picked up the doll next to her and threw it towards Jiang Huai. Get out, everyone, get out. When the doll was about to fall on him, Jiang Huai quickly ran out of the door. At this time, the Office of Sales Department 4 was filled with joy. They all knew that JAC had negotiated a big order, and the salaries of all the people in the 4th Sales Department had increased accordingly. Cao Qingcheng shouted, "I knew that Manager Jiang could bring us good luck, but you still don't believe it." "I believe it, I believe it. From now on, we will all follow Manager Jiang and drink soup." "Okay. What are you talking about? You look so happy." Jiang Huai walked into the office with a smile. "Manager Jiang is here, everyone welcomes him." Following Cao Qingcheng's shout, thunderous applause broke out in the office. "Thanks to Manager Jiang, our 4th department's performance has jumped from last to first place. Manager Jiang has made an indelible contribution. From now on, we will follow Manager Jiang. We will be Manager Jiang's people in life and Manager Jiang's ghosts in death." Jiang Huai shook his head, "Don't do those empty things." Jiang Huai said this and walked straight to a computer desk, which was Wang Chuan's seat. The office suddenly became quiet. Chapter 22 Apology. At this time, Wang Chuan was sitting quietly in his seat, without cheering or anger, and very calm. Before this, after being called back by Xie Jing, he was indeed angry for a while. But when he received news from the headquarters that the wages of their entire 4th department had doubled because of Jiang Huai's order, he felt relieved. He is a family man with elderly parents and young children to take care of, and money is everything to him. If he can get such high treatment here in Jiang Huai, it doesn't matter if he endures a little bullying. Jiang Huai leaned one hand on the beam in the middle of the computer desk, resting his chin on his hand, looking at Wang Chuan. "I heard you wanted to replace me." Wang Chuan felt like he was sitting on a needle stick when Jiang Huai looked at him, and he became even more nervous when he heard what Jiang Huai said. He knew that Jiang Huai would definitely come after him to settle the score because of what happened in the morning meeting, and Jiang Huai would definitely make things difficult for him in every way. But for the sake of salary and family, he can endure it. Wang Chuan stood up slowly, lowered his head, and apologized sincerely. "I'm sorry, Manager Jiang, I don't mean to replace you. It was Director Xie who asked me to go today." "Oh." Jiang Huai raised his eyebrows. "But I heard that, except for this morning, yesterday and the day before yesterday, someone was stabbing me in the back at the company." "No, Manager Jiang, that's not what I meant. I was possessed by a ghost at the time, and I may have said something that offended Manager Jiang. Please don't take it to heart." Wang Chuan apologized sincerely. For the sake of work and money, he could endure anything. Jiang Huai is very angry now. Everything will be fine as long as he calms down. "Forgive you? How can I forgive you? Your apology is so insincere." Jiang Huai looked around and saw that the employees from the other 4 departments were all looking at him curiously, and no one spoke. In the past 2 days, they did see Wang Chuan showing off in the office and spreading all kinds of rumors in the company, hoping that Jiang Huai would be fired and he would become the manager. Wang Chuan lowered his head and his face turned red. After a while, he whispered, "Manager Jiang, how do you want me to apologize?" "It all depends on your sincerity." Jiang Huai said with a smile, "If you are not sincere enough, then I can only throw you out of the 4th department and unilaterally expel you." Wang Chuan was startled and looked up at Jiang Huai. No matter how much he suffers, he cannot be fired. This job is his life, it is everything to him. He had tried his best to become a manager before, but it was just a competition in the workplace. He had never thought about leaving the company. If he left the company, he would be finished. "Manager Jiang, I'm sorry, I can't lose this job. Please be magnanimous and let me off this time." Wang Chuan's voice trembled slightly due to excitement. "No mercy." Jiang Huai looked at Wang Chuan, "Unless you kneel down and apologize." Wang Chuan looked at Jiang Huai in astonishment and said in disbelief, "Manager Jiang, a man's knees are made of gold. You are insulting me." Jiang Huai waved his hands impatiently at Cao Qingcheng and several colleagues. "If you don't kneel, throw you out." Cao Qingcheng obeyed and came over eager to try, etc. Seeing several colleagues coming over, Wang Chuan closed his eyes in anger. After a few seconds, he uttered 2 words through his clenched teeth. "I kneel." Then, Wang Chuan closed his eyes tightly, and tears welled up in his eyes due to the humiliation in his heart. He was unwilling to accept it, but he lost. Hanshin could endure the humiliation of being kicked in the crotch, so why can't I? As long as the Green Mountains remain, there will be no shortage of firewood. The humiliation I suffer now will become the cornerstone for my future comeback. Thinking of this, Wang Chuan bent his knees and knelt straight in front of Jiang Huai. Manager Jiang, I'm sorry, I was wrong, please forgive me. Jiang Huai still kept leaning on the computer desk. After listening to Wang Chuan's words, he nodded slightly. He straightened up. Okay, I got your apology, now, throw him out. Everyone in the office was shocked. Wang Chuan stood up suddenly and looked at Jiang Huai with anger on his face. Jiang Huai, I've already knelt down for you, what else do you want? What? Fire you? Didn't I tell you I won't fire you if you kneel down? At this time, Cao Qingcheng and a few others also reacted, and they hurriedly threw Wang Chuan out. Jiang Huai, you are going too far. Wang Chuan's angry roar was heard from the corridor. Thanks for the compliment. Jiang Huai slammed the door shut. Wang Chuan looked at the tightly closed door and his teeth were almost broken. This day was perhaps the most humiliating day he had ever experienced in his life. Jiang Huai, I will remember you. The more Wang Chuan thought about it, the angrier he got. Fire. You're just a small manager, can you fire people at will? Do you have such great authority? Do you think everyone in the company will listen to you? Wang Chuan became more and more unwilling to give in, and finally went upstairs and knocked on Xie Jing's office door. Jiang Huai said he wanted to fire you. Xie Jing asked in disbelief after hearing Wang Chuan's accusation. Yes, Director Xie, you must make the decision for me. Jiang Huai is just a small manager, but he is so arrogant. The company has to go through strict personnel review before firing people, and they only have the right to fire people if they make a serious mistake that causes the company to suffer losses. Jiang Huai is too bullying. Does he think the company is his? Does he think he can cover up everything? Do all the directors and managers in the company have to listen to him? Ridiculous. After listening to Wang Chuan's accusation, Xie Jing was silent for 2 minutes, and finally looked up. Just go. Wang Chuan opened his eyes in disbelief and said in a lost voice. Thank you, Director. I'll have them pack your things for you. The company will not reduce your subsidy by a cent. Leave the company now and don't go back to the 4th department. Wang Chuan walked out of the company gate in a daze. Outside, the sun was shining brightly, but he had nowhere to go. Puff. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted on the road. The next morning, the sun was shining brightly and the streets were busy with traffic. Jiang Huai was walking on the road with a backpack on his back, and he was in a good mood. He is about to go to Huayu to sign the contract, and the contract and everything else are ready and in his bag. Jiang Huai took a taxi. There was a bit of traffic jam during the morning rush hour, and it took him almost an hour to arrive downstairs of Huayu Group. Jiang Huai entered through the gate of Huayu Group with ease and went straight to the elevator he took last time. While waiting for the elevator, Jiang Huai suddenly saw someone. Sun Jigang. Sun Jigang walked out of another elevator and saw Jiang Huai, who was waiting for the elevator. How come he is here? Jiang Huai's heart skipped a beat. As far as he could remember, Sun Jigang had harassed Zhao Naner in the parking lot that day, and Jiang Huai hadn't seen him since then. At this time, the wounds on Sun Jigang's face had not yet healed, and one of his hands was still wrapped in gauze. When Sun Jigang saw Jiang Huai, he gave him a look that was full of provocation. As soon as the two met, Sun Jigang left. Jiang Huai had a bad feeling in his heart. Sun Jigang looked at him without any surprise, as if he was well prepared. Jiang Huai didn't dare to delay and pressed the elevator and went directly to the 35th floor. Chapter 23 Incident. Coming out of the elevator, Jiang Huai walked into the office where he signed the letter of intent with Zhang Huayu yesterday. There was no one in the office at this time. When Jiang Huai came up, he had already greeted the lady at the front desk. They should all know that Jiang Huai was coming. However, Jiang Huai waited in the office for half an hour, but still no one came. Zhang Huayu said yesterday that if you come today, you can just find his eldest son Zhang Zhixian to sign the contract. He has already informed him. However, the more Jiang Huai thought about it, the more uneasy he felt. He thought of Sun Jigang, whom he had just seen downstairs. Thinking of this, Jiang Huai could no longer sit still. He walked around the floor and finally found the chairman's office. Jiang Huai raised his hand to knock on the door, but after knocking for a long time, there was silence inside. Just as he was about to push the door open, a voice suddenly came from behind him. Hello. Jiang Huai turned around and saw a middle-aged man in his 40s standing behind him, who looked somewhat like Jiang Huai. Are you Mr. Jiang Huai Jiang? The man stretched out his hand. I'm Jiang Jitsai. Hello. Seeing that someone finally came, Jiang Huai nodded and stretched out his hand to shake hands with Jiang Jitsai. I'm Jiang Huai from Tianxin Group. I'm here today to sign a contract with the old man. Jiang Huai said directly. Jiang Jitsai nodded, his expression slightly unnatural. Mr. Jiang, the situation has changed temporarily. Please come over here and I will explain it to you in detail. Then, Jiang Jitsai led Jiang Huai to the previous office. Jiang Jitsai personally poured a glass of water for Jiang Huai, and then said in embarrassment. Mr. Jiang, I'm really sorry, I'm afraid I can't sign this contract with you today. What's going on? Jiang Huai was stunned. Didn't we already agree on this yesterday? How come we can't sign it? It's like this, we have a small problem here, so we can't sign a contract with you for the time being. Why can't you sign a contract with me? What are you doing? I'll go talk to the old man. After Jiang Huai finished speaking, he picked up his phone and called Jiang Huai. Jiang Jitsai did not stop him, but just looked at Jiang Huai quietly. The number you dialed is powered off. Jiang Huai looked at Jiang Jitsai suspiciously, his face turned cold. What are you going to do? I'm handing over to the old man, and the letter of intent has already been signed. Jiang Jitsai looked embarrassed. Mr. Jiang, I know, but we are also in a difficult situation, there is really no way. You probably also know Wen Ting, the star at YU these days, right? The woman wearing a red ribbon flashed through Jiang Huai's mind. I signed a contract with you. What does it have to do with her? Jiang Jitsai said helplessly, did you offend Miss Wen somewhere? Jiang Huai was totally confused and bewildered. This is what happened. Seeing that Jiang Huai still didn't understand, Jiang Jitsai explained to him helplessly. Mr. Jiang, my father did ask us to sign a contract with you yesterday, but this morning, Miss Wen suddenly came and stopped us from taking the next step with you. She even used the cooperation with YU Group as a bargaining chip. Jiang Jitsai said, looking embarrassed. You know, YU has been cooperating with Miss Wen for a long time. With Miss Wen's fame and social influence, cooperating with YU is a win-win situation. If YU suddenly changes its spokesperson, it will be a devastating blow to YU's products. Under such circumstances, it is impossible for YU to terminate the contract with Miss Wen. Jiang Huai understood. It turns out that it was Wen Ting who was behind all this. However, Jiang Huai thought about it for a long time but couldn't figure out how he had offended this big Buddha. Jiang Huai thought about it and felt helpless for the first time. Given Wen Ting's influence in the entertainment industry and society, there is basically no room for maneuver when it comes to matters she intervenes in. Jiang Jitsai looked at Jiang Huai's expression and continued. Ms. Wen's request is not to sign a contract with you, but we thought that we had already signed a letter of intent with Tianxin, and we found that Tianxin is quite strong, so we just discussed it and decided to continue the contract with Tianxin, but the person who signed the contract should be changed. As long as it has nothing to do with you, Mr. Jiang, Miss Wen has no objection to anyone in Tianxin. The day before yesterday, a man named Liu Jinxiang from your company came to see me. I happen to have his contact information here. Mr. Jiang, please take a look. If you have no objection, we will sign a contract with Liu Jinxiang directly. Jiang Huai now completely understood that Wen Ting was targeting him. The current situation is that the order he had worked so hard to get is about to fall into the mouth of his competitor Liu Jinxiang. Wait. Jiang Huai gritted his teeth and sorted out his thoughts. Can the situation be reversed if Wen Ting changes her opinion? Yes. Jiang Jitsai did not hide it. In fact, we are all businessmen. We are not going to embarrass anyone. This is really an accident. I'm sorry. My dad, he doesn't know about this yet. Please don't disturb him anymore, Mr. Jiang, said Jiang Jitsai. Jiang Huai nodded and gritted his teeth. Okay, I'll go find Wen Ting. Jiang Jitsai pointed upwards and said, Miss Wen is upstairs now. Good. Jiang Huai finished speaking, turned around and pressed the elevator button. I have called Liu Jinxiang from Tianxin. I can extend the time to 3 p.m. at most. If it exceeds this time, we will sign a contract with Liu Jinxiang. When the elevator door closed, Jiang Jitsai gave Jiang Huai another instruction. The elevator quickly went up one floor. When Jiang Huai walked out of the elevator door, the environment in front of him changed. The decoration here is luxurious, not like an office, but more like a presidential suite in a hotel. Before Jiang Huai reached the door, a woman in her 20s came over and looked him up and down. "Who are you looking for?" "I'm looking for Wenting," Jiang Huai said bluntly. "Go tell Wenting that my name is Jiang Huai." Jiang Huai. The woman looked Jiang Huai up and down and made sure that Wenting didn't know such a person. Could it be that he was some crazy fan who sneaked up? They had encountered similar things before. A male fan pretended to be Wenting's friend, and then broke into Wenting's room while the security personnel were not paying attention and tried to do something bad to her. Fortunately, the security arrived in time and prevented the tragedy. Because of this incident, Wenting was so frightened that she was sick for more than half a month. Seeing Jiang Huai's dress, the woman naturally thought that Jiang Huai was also a fan of Wenting, so she shook her head. "Miss Wen is resting and not seeing anyone." "Not see?" Jiang Huai gritted his teeth. "You don't want to meet me, right?" Then the headline of Ningqing's news tomorrow will be that Wenting is the mistress of Jiang Huai, the former chairman of Huai Group. Because of their relationship, Wenting has always been the spokesperson for Huai Group. "Shut up!" the woman shouted angrily before Jiang Huai could continue. "You are spreading rumors and making nonsense. Do you know that you will be held legally responsible? We can sue you. I'm afraid of you who wears shoes, even though I'm barefoot." Jiang Huai was also angry. "You allow this bitch to do something to me secretly. You don't allow me to do something to her? You'd better tell me quickly, or I can't guarantee that there will be some weird news tomorrow." Chapter 24 Aunt. The woman's chest heaved violently due to Jiang Huai's anger. She was Wenting's assistant, named Julie. Julie knew very well that for a top-tier star like Wenting, the slightest disturbance could overturn most of the entertainment industry. What's more, she was in love with a 70-year-old man and was his mistress. If this were to get out, wouldn't the entire Shire country's network system be paralyzed? Even if it is false, their public relations team will have to spend a long time to refute the rumor, which is not worth the effort. After taking 2 breaths, Julie glared at Jiang Huai fiercely before turning around and walking into the door. This floor is luxuriously decorated, and every decoration is extremely expensive. The floor is covered with expensive carpets and the walls are inlaid with gorgeous gems. Standing here, it feels like standing on top of the world. But Jiang Huai had no mind to appreciate the scenery, he was extremely anxious. After waiting at the door for less than 2 minutes, Julie came out. She opened the door. "Miss Wen is waiting for you inside." Jiang Huai didn't even look at her and walked straight into the door. Julie followed closely in, never leaving Jiang Huai's side more than 5 steps away. As soon as Jiang Huai entered the house, he saw a large living room. It should be a living room because it was furnished with sofas for receiving guests, tea sets, and some ornamental fish and flowers. On the left side of the living room, there were several elastic ribbons hanging from the ceiling. Wenting was putting one foot on the ribbons, doing yoga comfortably. She has a very standard figure, with a slim waist, plump hips and legs with very smooth lines. She has big eyes, deep eye sockets, a high nose bridge, an oval face, a swan neck, and looks a bit like a mixed-race person. This style is completely different from Zhao Nanner's. Zhao Nanner looks like a rich girl who has been spoiled since childhood and has developed an arrogant and overbearing personality. Wenting, on the other hand, is a fairy. Yes, Wenting is like a fairy in the sky, sacred and inviolable, a woman who can only be worshipped and admired. Jiang Huai stood there, watching Wenting sitting on the ribbon and performing all kinds of extremely difficult moves, sometimes flipping over, sometimes doing splits upside down, and sometimes wrapping herself up like a cicada pupa. Without exception, every action is very convenient. Jiang Huai waited for less than 5 minutes before Wenting stopped. She walked to the sofa in the middle of the living room, and her assistant Judy hurried over to pour her a glass of water. Wenting took a sip of water before looking up at Jiang Huai. "Are you Jiang Huai? What do you want to ask?" Wenting's tone was cold, and Jiang Huai heard a hint of hostility in her tone. "Why are you targeting me? We don't seem to have any hatred." Jiang Huai went straight to the point. "Because you offended someone you shouldn't have offended." Wenting paused before speaking. "Someone who should not be offended." Jiang Huai was stunned and immediately thought of Sun Jigang whom he saw when he went upstairs in the morning. Could it be him? Thinking of this, Jiang Huai blurted out. "Who is Sun Jigang to you?" Wen Ting raised her eyes and glanced at Jiang Huai. Jiang Huai was very handsome and tall, a sunny and handsome big boy. However, Wen Ting's heart was not shaken at all. In their entertainment industry, there were all kinds of boys. Handsome, strong man, young hunk, uncle, Nan Niang, what else is missing? She was used to people like Jiang Huai. Wen Ting put down the teacup and said slowly, "I'm not going to hide it from you. I'll tell you so you'll give up. My parents died young, and I only have an older sister who is more than 20 years older than me. My brother-in-law had a car accident 5 years ago, leaving behind only a son. My sister and her son depend on each other for survival. Their mother and daughter have suffered a lot. My brother-in-law is dying. Please ask me to take care of them. Sun Jigang and my sister are my relatives in this world. He had excellent grades when he was in school, and he was very well behaved after graduation. He never caused any trouble for me. A few days ago, he was finally getting married, and I booked a wedding banquet for him at the Jiang Huai Hotel, but I was filming abroad at the time and didn't make it back in time. But unexpectedly, something unexpected happened at the wedding. He was framed, and the wedding fell through. But we don't blame him. Everyone makes mistakes. It's a great honor to know your mistakes and then improve them." At this point, Wen Ting glanced at Jiang Huai coldly. "But yesterday, when he found me, he was beaten and bruised all over. He is my sister's only child. We all love him very much. We have always depended on each other. I will not allow anything to happen to him." "So, you're going to avenge him?" Jiang Huai's face darkened. He didn't expect that Wen Ting was actually Sun Jigang's aunt. Sun Jigang had never mentioned this matter in the company before. "It's just a little punishment, not revenge." Wen Ting smiled faintly, with a confident expression on her face. "You beat up my nephew, and I didn't call the police. Instead, I took a small bill from you. That's already considered mercy." Jiang Huai snorted coldly. "You only know that I beat him, then why did I beat him, do you know? He molested women and attempted murder. Logically, I should have arrested him right away, but I didn't." Jiang Huai thought about that day when he and Zhao Nana left and wanted to call the police, but he remembered that Sun Jigang was much more seriously injured than himself, and there was no surveillance at the scene of the incident. If the police came, they might not listen to him, and might even accuse him of excessive self-defense. So Jiang Huai just let Sun Jigang fend for himself. "I don't care what the reason is. I just know that my nephew is injured and you beat him up." Wen Ting's eyes turned cold. "Okay, now you know the reason, you can go." Julie stepped forward and said, "Please come in." Jiang Huai gritted his teeth. He finally understood. Wen Ting was just an unreasonable lunatic. He nodded. "Okay, let's play it this way, huh? You remember every word you said today, and you'd better not fall into my hands." Wen Ting snorted, with an expression of contempt and disdain on her face. She even disdains to talk to Jiang Huai. People of Jiang Huai's level have nothing to do with her and they will never have any intersection in their lives. Don't want to fall into his hands. Oh, it's not certain who will fall into whose hands. It was not until he entered the elevator that Jiang Huai leaned gently against it, a feeling of powerlessness sweeping over his body. The world is so big, and for the first time Jiang Huai felt how insignificant he was. It's the kind of insignificance that comes from being crushed by someone else's strength. No matter how hard you struggle, you just can't win. Is this it? Is there any other solution? Jiang Huai's brain worked quickly, but no matter which way he thought, he couldn't immediately solve the problem in front of him. Jiang Huai walked out of Huayu Group in a daze and stood at the door of Huayu Group, not knowing where to go. Suddenly, a black car stopped in front of him. The car window slowly slid down, and Jiang Huai saw Sun Jigang sitting inside at a glance. Sun Jigang looked at Jiang Huai with a victorious smile on his face. "Jiang Huai, did the contract signing go smoothly?" Sun Jigang deliberately provoked Jiang Huai and said with a smile. Jiang Huai turned around and ignored him. Sun Jigang laughed wantonly again. "You are still too young to fight with me. How does it feel to lose everything? How does it feel to have all your efforts go down the drain? Get out." Jiang Huai said coldly. A black car passed by and Sun Jigang left, leaving Jiang Huai with a winner's smile. Jiang Huai took a taxi back to the company. When he passed by the door of the second department, he heard thunderous cheers from inside. "Don't go away, the next chapter will slap you in the face." Collect the recommendation tickets and read on. Chapter 25 Evidence. Liu Jinxian was surrounded by the staff of the second department and laughed excitedly. At this time, Liu Jinxian saw Jiang Huai walking through the door, and he came out smiling. Jiang Huai, thank you for giving in and giving me such a big order. All of us in the second department are grateful to you. When Mr. Zhang called me just now, I didn't believe it. But when he told me the signing time, I believed it. Thank you. Jiang Huai didn't say anything, and turned back to the fourth department. Liu Jinxian was feeling happy, and regardless of Jiang Huai's attitude, he returned to his office to pack up and said, "Comrades, I'm leaving now." The people from the second department cheered and escorted Liu Jinxian out the door. Jiang Huai gritted his teeth, returned to the office, and locked the door alone. Colleagues from the fourth department looked at each other, no one dared to speak loudly, and they spoke and acted quietly. They have just learned that JAC cannot sign the contract. Although they are not clear about the specific reasons, it is a fact that the order is no longer for companies. The atmosphere in the office was depressing, and even Cao Qingcheng, who had been cheerful all the time, didn't dare to speak. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes passed. Half an hour. Jiang Huai sat on the chair, put his legs on the desk, tilted his head back and closed his eyes. Sorted out the details from beginning to end. Sun Zhigang kidnapped Zhao Naner in the parking lot, and then she beat Sun Zhigang in a fit of anger. Sun Zhigang held a grudge and took the opportunity to complain to Wen Ting when he signed the contract with Huayu. Then Wen Ting got into trouble and caused herself to lose the contract. Back to the source, Sun Zhigang kidnapped Zhao Naner. Why did Sun Zhigang kidnap Zhao Naner? Suddenly, an idea flashed in Jiang Huai's mind. That day, Zhao Naner called him proudly, showing off that she had promoted Jiang Huai. Then she took the elevator to the parking lot and happened to see Sun Zhigang bullying Zhao Naner. So before anyone could say anything, Jiang Huai started taking action directly. Jiang Huai. He said he wanted to go upstairs to get something, and if I didn't agree, he would kill me. I'm so scared. Woo. The image of Zhao Naner crying with tears in her eyes appeared in front of my eyes. But Jiang Huai suddenly opened his eyes. Sun Zhigang wants to come up to get something? What? Jiang Huai remembered that because of Zhao Haichuan's order, Sun Zhigang could no longer enter the company since the wedding day, and the security guards at the door kept a close eye on him. This thing must be very important to Sun Zhigang, and Sun Zhigang must come and get it in person, so when Zhao Naner refused, Sun Zhigang was desperate and threatened with a knife. But he didn't expect to show up at that time. Jiang Huai stood up from his chair and looked around. This office of less than 10 square meters previously belonged to Sun Zhigang. Nothing inside was moved, because after Jiang Huai was promoted to manager, he was busy looking for old man Zhang, and the office door was locked when he was away. Without time to think, Jiang Huai searched everywhere in the office: drawers, cabinets, bookshelves, and file bags. No. Finally, Jiang Huai's eyes were on the computer. This computer also belongs to Sun Zhigang. Jiang Huai copied the videos from this computer that day. If Jiang Huai is not mistaken, those short videos are still in the computer. Jiang Huai turned on the computer and opened all the files inside one by one, but found nothing. Time passed minute by minute, and another hour passed. There are too many things in the computer, including the company's things, Sun Zhigang's personal hobbies, and various short movies. JAC opened and closed them one by one, nothing. Finally, Jiang Huai found the file where he copied the video that day. Because he was in a hurry that day, he found the file, copied the video and left without checking it carefully. At the bottom of the video file, there is a document file. Jiang Huai directly scrolled down and opened the document. Is it a transaction record? No, it's a bill. Fake accounts. Jiang Huai looked at the rows one by one and found that these were fake accounts of Sun Zhigang taking kickbacks from the company when he was a manager. Jiang Huai's hand holding the mouse trembled slightly due to excitement. He didn't expect that Sun Zhigang had been embezzling the company's money during all these years as manager. He did it very secretly and every link was connected very well, so no one discovered it. These bills, some of which are worth tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, are a thick pile. The total amount involved is probably more than several million. Moreover, in addition to the false accounts, some other senior executives of the company were also involved. If this bill were exposed and if Jiang Huai handed it over to the police, Sun Zhigang would be in prison for at least 10 years. Enough. Jiang Huai was overjoyed. He found a USB drive, copied the file, and downloaded another copy to his mobile phone. Then I encrypted the computer, took the USB drive with me, and looked at the time. It was already 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Jiang Huai would not hand these documents over to the police, he had to hurry over and get his contract back himself. Is T-Sun Jiang Wenting's sweetheart? How would that crazy critic respond if he saw these things from Sun Jiang? Jiang Huai took what he needed and walked out of the office door. When the colleagues in the office saw Jiang Huai coming out, they all lowered their heads and pretended to be busy, for fear of bringing bad luck to Jiang Huai. Jiang Huai locked the office door and hailed a taxi directly at the door. At 2:30, Jiang Huai walked into the building of Huayu Group again. This time, Jiang Huai took the elevator directly to the 36th floor. The girl at the front desk was already familiar with Jiang Huai and didn't ask him any questions. Bang, bang, bang. Jiang Huai slapped the door with his big hand, making a dull sound. Julie opened the door sleepily and glared at Jiang Huai. You better be okay. It is lunchtime now. Wenting is taking a nap, so Julie also takes a break. Unexpectedly, she is woken up not long after taking a break. Call Wenting out. Jiang Huai said very impolitely. Who do you think you are? Do you think you can see Miss Wen whenever you want? Get out of here now, or I'll call for help. Zhu Ting saw with her own eyes that Jiang Huai was driven away in the morning, and thought that Jiang Huai was not giving up, so he came to ask Wenting for help again. She looked at Jiang Huai with disdain. No matter how much you beg, Miss Wen will not see you, so just give up on this idea. Jiang Huai took out his phone, swiped the screen twice, and handed it to Julie. Please show this to Wenting. If she's not interested, I'll leave right away. Julie glanced at her phone in confusion. No matter what tricks you play, I won't fall for them. You still. But then, after she saw the content on the phone, the rest of the words disappeared. She opened her eyes wide in surprise and stared at the words on the screen. How about it? I believe Wenting will be very interested in this matter. Jiang Huai put away his phone, leaned against the door, and smiled nonchalantly. If she's not interested, the police should be more interested. Wait a moment. Julie snatched Jiang Huai's phone and turned to walk in. Chapter 26. I don't want money, I want you. Jiang Huai looked at the tightly closed door and pressed his tongue against his back teeth. Little guy, I can't control you. In less than 5 minutes, the door opened and Julie came out in a hurry. This time, her face was not filled with impatience but with fear. Miss Wen, please come in. Jiang Huai walked through the open door and into the living room of the luxurious private room. Wenting was sitting on an independent sofa at this time. She seemed to have just got up. Her hair was a little messy and she had a blue cape draped over her shoulders. She looked like a lazy cat. Please sit down. Wenting raised her hand gently, motioning Jiang Huai to sit on the sofa. Jiang Huai sat down, crossed his legs, and leaned on the sofa, looking nonchalant. Wenting waved to Julie who was standing next to her, and Julie tactfully retreated. Mr. Jiang, where did you get this? Wenting spread her cell phone on the coffee table and asked Jiang Huai carefully. Her attitude at this moment was completely devoid of the arrogance and disdain she had before. Is this something you need to worry about now? Jiang Huai sneered, completely immune to her advances. He remembered clearly how this woman treated him before. Jiang Huai checked the time. It's already 2:50 in the afternoon. Maybe Zhang Jitai is giving my contract to someone else to sign. Wenting was stunned. She was so anxious when she saw the content on her phone that she forgot about the contract. Please wait a moment, I'll be back soon. Wenting said, then stood up and ran out quickly. The blue cloak and long hair drew a graceful arc in the air, like a jumping butterfly. In less than 5 minutes, Wenting came back panting with a stack of documents in her hand. Mr. Jiang, your contract is here. The signatures and seals are all ready. All you need to do is sign your name. Wenting looked at Jiang Huai and forced a smile. Even if it wasn't sincere, Wenting's smile was still stunningly beautiful. When she smiled, it seemed as if their whole room lit up. Big stars are indeed full of charm. Jiang Huai was still sitting there, his butt didn't move at all, and he didn't even reach out to take Wenting's things. Wenting's smile slowly froze on her face. The atmosphere was awkward for 2 minutes before Wenting finally spoke. This time she didn't smile, but looked serious. I want to buy this thing from you, name your price. Jiang Huai became interested. How much do you think it's worth? Wen Ting bit her lip. She had just carefully looked at the contents of her mobile phone. Every transaction and every item in it was Sun Jiang's account. After thinking for a while, Wen Ting seemed to have made up her mind and said, the amount involved here is less than 20 million. How about I give you 30 million? Jiang Huai sneered and looked at Wen Ting's face without saying a word. Wen Ting was stunned for a moment, then asked, 50 million. Jiang Huai still stared at her. Wen Ting's expression gradually changed, 100 million. Jiang Huai sneered, how much do you think Sun Jiang's 10 years are worth? Hearing Jiang Huai's words, Wen Ting's face turned pale instantly. Sun Jiang must not go in. If he goes in, his life will be ruined. Wen Ting gritted her teeth, walked to the table, poured a cup of tea for Jiang Huai, and served it with both hands. Mr. Jiang, it was my fault before. I treated you badly. I beg for your forgiveness. Jiang Huai ignored her. I am a person who holds grudges. Seeing that Jiang Huai was not moved by her soft words and hard words, Wen Ting began to persuade him with emotion. Mr. Jiang, I can give you 100 million. Look at your current job. With this monthly salary, when can you save up 100 million? Although what I said may not sound nice, think about it. If you had 100 million, it might be enough for you to spend your whole life without worries. Think about it. It seems that you still hope that Sun Jiang will go in. Jiang Huai sneered and interrupted Wen Ting. You keep saying that you love Sun Jiang, he is your good nephew, why do I think you still don't love him that much? In that case, I'll just hand it in. Wen Ting bit her lips tightly, tears rolled around in her eyes and rolled down her nose. What do you want? Wen Ting broke down and cried. Jiang Huai crossed his legs, leaned on the sofa, looked at Wen Ting, and said word by word. I don't want money, I want you. Wen Ting suddenly opened her eyes wide, her eyes full of surprise. Jiang Huai, don't go too far, Jiang Huai didn't wait for her to finish and stood up directly. Whether you agree or not, this is my condition. If you don't agree, I'll leave. Wen Ting stopped moving, she stared at Jiang Huai blankly. Even though he was very handsome, she couldn't give her first time away so casually. She is a star who debuted based on her actual strength. She studied various acting subjects seriously since college. With her stunning looks, she was discovered by a scout before she even left school. She has been popular since then. Because of her good acting skills, every drama she starred in became a hit and she signed contracts continuously. She didn't need any unspoken rules at all. Now those big guys are holding scripts and begging her to sign them, but she is so busy that she doesn't even have time to have a boyfriend. But Wen Ting looked at Jiang Huai. No, it won't work no matter what. But what about Sun Jiang? Sun Jiang is my sister's life. My sister has been in poor health in recent years and has a heart disease. If something really happens to Sun Jiang, my sister will not be able to survive. They are the only relatives he has in this world. What should I do? What should I do? Wen Ting was crying, struggling and hesitating in her heart. Have you made up your mind? I'm leaving. Jiang Huai turned around. We are all adults, make our own choices, I don't like to force others. After Jiang Huai finished speaking, he walked straight towards the door, so ruthlessly that he didn't even turn his head back. He walked slowly towards the door, and when he was about to reach the door, he silently counted in his mind, 3, 2, 1, etc. Just as Jiang Huai's hand grabbed the door handle, Wen Ting's voice came from behind him. Jiang Huai bit his lower lip, pressed down the upturned corners of his mouth, and turned his head back. I promise you. Wen Ting bit her lips tightly. Don't look like you're being wronged. I never force anyone. Jiang Huai clicked his tongue. I volunteered. Wen Ting lowered her head, bit her lips, her face slightly red. At this time, on the 35th floor downstairs, Liu Jinxiang has been sitting here for 2 hours. He has been waiting here since 2 o'clock, drank several pots of tea, went to the toilet twice, and now it is already past 4 o'clock. If he waits any longer, he will have to get off work. What's wrong with them? Didn't they call him to come over and sign the contract? When Liu Jinxiang received the call, he was extremely happy. This overwhelming wealth suddenly fell on him, and he was stunned. He came here without stopping, but after waiting for a long time, not only did he not see Zhang Jitai, he didn't even see an ordinary employee. Where are the people? Liu Jinxiang finally couldn't help it. Just as he got up and went out to ask, a person came from the other side of the corridor. Hello, is this manager Liu from Tianxin? Yes, I am. Liu Jinxiang thought the person who signed the contract had arrived, and he was excited. I came here to sign the contract after receiving a call from Mr. Zhang. Oh, the contract has been signed. Manager Liu, you can go back, the man said. What? The contract has been signed. No, I've been here the whole time and no one has come to see me. Did you make a mistake? Liu Jinxiang was stunned and asked with a smile. Chapter 27 Candlelight Dinner, a very late dinner. No, how could we be wrong? Mr. Jiang Huai signed the contract an hour ago, and he is also cooperating with your Tianxin, so you can go back. Jiang Huai. Liu Jinxiang's expression froze on his face. Why is it him again? Didn't he refuse to sign? We don't know the specific details. Anyway, I've already told you what happened. I'm off work. After the clerk finished speaking, he stopped chatting with Liu Jinxiang and turned away. Liu Jinxiang stood there in a daze for a long time before he slowly clenched his fists. He felt like he was being fooled by Jiang Huai again. Compared with the last time, Jiang Huai humiliated him even more this time. The last time he tried hard, he was defeated by his own strength, so he was willing to accept the defeat. But this time, it was Zhang Jitai himself who called him to come over to sign the contract. As a result, he came over happily, waited for a long time, and then was told that the contract had been signed. He felt like he was being played around by Jiang Huai, like a monkey. Jiang Huai. I will make you suffer. Liu Jinxiang walked into the elevator with gritted teeth. I don't know how long the two of them negotiated inside, but Julie saw Jiang Huai open the door and come out. Julie was very worried about the situation inside. She was afraid that Jiang Huai would bully Wenting. After all, a man and a woman were alone in the same room. As soon as the door opened, Julie wanted to go in, but unexpectedly Jiang Huai blocked the door. What are you doing? Get out of the way. Julie looked at Jiang Huai unkindly. Jiang Huai smiled and took out a piece of paper. I'm going to have a candlelight dinner with Miss Wen. Please prepare some things. Julie glared at Jiang Huai, took the note and took a look at it. The note said some food, such as steak, Australian lobster, candles, cake, fruit, whip, snacks. Julie's eyes widened. She raised her head and stared at Jiang Huai fiercely. Jiang Huai raised his eyebrows. At this time, Wenting appeared behind Jiang Huai, and Julie quickly cast an inquiring look at Wenting. Wenting glanced at Jiang Huai and nodded slightly. Julie no longer questioned and turned to go downstairs. In less than half an hour, Julie had prepared everything. Jiang Huai opened the door, took the things, and then locked Julie outside with a bang. Julie's chest heaved with anger, but she could do nothing about it. Inside the door, Jiang Huai looked at the ribbon hanging from the ceiling on the left side of the room with interest. Ms. Wen, I want to see you do yoga. Wenting glanced at Jiang Huai and nodded shyly. Then she walked to the ribbon and started performing various difficult moves. Miss Wen, your body is so flexible, comparable to a gymnastics champion. Jiang Huai exclaimed. Wenting hummed. As night fell, Jiang Huai glanced at the time and it was already 10:30. He glanced at the beauty lying beside him. At this moment, the beauty had her eyes closed and was sleeping soundly, as obedient as a docile cat. Jiang Huai stood up, took out the food prepared by Julie and placed it on the coffee table, and put the dishes and chopsticks in place. He turned around and shook Wenting gently. Get up and eat something. Wenting turned over with her eyes closed and hummed softly. Don't eat at night, you'll get fat. Celebrities pay special attention to body management, especially at night, when they cannot eat anything. Not fat. Come and eat something. Wenting turned over impatiently and wrapped herself in the quilt like a silkworm cocoon. Jiang Huai chuckled, walked to the coffee table, picked up a steak, cut it into small pieces, and walked back. He buttoned the quilt to make a gap, revealing Wenting's head. Come, I'll feed you, open your mouth, Wenting had no choice but to close her eyes and open her mouth. After eating several pieces of steak, Wenting shook her head. I won't eat it anymore. I can't eat it anymore. He shrank back again. Jiang Huai then took the plate back and returned to the silkworm pupae. Get up and take a shower. Wenting twisted her waist in protest. No. It's unhygienic. Jiang Huai ignored Wenting's protests and picked up the entire silkworm pupa and went into the bathroom next door. The bathroom door slammed shut. Before long, rose petals floated on the wide pool, and water overflowed in waves. Julie couldn't sleep. She was in another room on the 36th floor, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. The house was well soundproofed and she couldn't hear anything, but through the night outside the window she saw the lights next door were on all night. When Jiang Huai opened his eyes, it was already bright. He glanced at the time, 9:30. Why did you wake up so late? Sure enough, beauty is a disaster. Jiang Huai sighed and turned around. A white, soft and smooth arm reached out from behind and wrapped around his neck. Jiang Huai turned over and saw a breathtakingly beautiful face in front of him. Wenting's skin is really good, white and tender. Through the morning light, Jiang Huai can see the fine hairs on her face. Jiang Huai couldn't help but touch his face. The other hand habitually reached into the quilt. Wenting frowned and protested, Jiang Huai, don't. Jiang Huai has already turned over. Have breakfast. When Jiang Huai opened the door, Julie was standing at the door with two big dark circles under her eyes, staring at him. Women shouldn't be so fierce, no man will want them. Jiang Huai pursed his lips. Roll. Julie didn't have time to argue with Jiang Huai and walked into Wenting's room with a nervous expression. As soon as she entered the room, Julie was stunned. The room was in chaos, as if it had just been bombed. Especially the yoga ribbon, several of them broke. Julie knew when the ribbon was installed. It is tough and strong, and can bear hundreds of kilograms. Looking further down, Julie found pieces of leather belts inside the ribbon. Belt. Broken. Julie was startled and ran towards the bedroom. When she opened the door and saw Wenting sleeping safely on the bed, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Wenting's body was only slightly red, and the redness had avoided her arms and neck, which were parts of her body that normally would be exposed when wearing a dress. While cleaning the room, Julie cursed Jiang Huai for 18 generations. Miss Wen, do you want me to find a few people to deal with Jiang Huai? Julie gritted her teeth and asked hatefully. Wenting was half asleep and muttered, no need. Julie sighed and walked out the door. Tianxing Group. Xie Jing looked at Jiang Huai's empty seat and asked doubtfully. Didn't I hear that Jiang Huai has signed Huayu's contract? How come he hasn't come yet, and neither has the contract? Director Xie, I think Jiang Huai is constantly challenging your authority. Look at what he has done since he became the manager. There has never been a proper meeting. He is late every day. If this continues, the company's discipline and regulations will be meaningless. Who will abide by them in the future? Liu Jinxiang said indignantly.